What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another TikToker roundtable with some of the best ones around, at least if you ask them anyway. We got Uncle Dan, all the way out from Cali, I believe. Jay Vakai, Mr. Bash the Fash, and the one and only Walmart Brandon Yuri, Dawson, and I'm, of course, your host. Today, we're going to be talking about, we have a list of things. We're going to be talking about the Blockben controversy, if you want to call it that, we are going to be talking about toxicity on TikTok and social media in general, and also if there's any possible way that the right and the left can get along to come together to maybe, just maybe, get something done. We're also going to be joined by Matt vs. Politics, who's having a few technical issues, but he'll be with us eventually. But I am your host, and we are going to be having a interesting discussions. But without further ado, I'll let Mr. Bash the Fast, Jay Vakai, take it away and give you some details.
Yeah, this is first of all, guys, anybody who's watching, this is not a debate. Dawson's my friend, Ryan's my friend. I don't really know Matt.
A dialogue more, yeah.
No, driven. You're the captain of the ship right now. I'm just talking about the other two. Dawson's a good buddy of mine. We're in the same group chat. Been talking to each other for a while. Ryan, we became friends after I was mean to him. And he was like, "I'm sorry, man." And I was like, "Oh shit!" Now I feel bad. So, but yeah, a little bit about me. We go around and introduce those who don't know me on TikTok. I go by Jay Vakai, Bash the Fash logo if you see it. I go to the University of Michigan. I graduate this semester. Go blue, and working to be a secondary teacher. And I enjoy boxing and football and video games. So, yeah, if the other two want to introduce themselves, too, that'd be cool. Dawson?
Yeah, so I'm Dawson. I'm Bolshevik on TikTok, formerly Edgar Allan Flow, excuse me.
Nice.
I've known Jay for a while. Been mutuals with Ryan for a while. Ryan originally stitched around my videos, and then I realized he was following me the whole time. Didn't know that before that day. But yeah, I go to school in Minnesota. Hopefully, right now I'm doing political science. Also double major with Chinese language, but we'll see if that happens because the study abroad programs are all screwed up. But yeah, I'm happy to be here.
Awesome. So I'll go. I'm Ryan Hilt. My name is Uncle Dan on TikTok. And yeah, I guess they've already introduced our relationship to each other. I have been mutuals with Dawson for a while, and me and I just became. Matt, hello.
We're here. We're good. As
we're good.
He got his voice back too.
Okay, cool.
Awesome.
We're just doing introductions. Ryan, it's going now.
Yeah, I've been actually in mutuals with Matt as well for several months now. I don't know, I'm excited for this conversation. I think we can get some good positive discourse going here. So,
Ryan, aren't you an actor too?
Yes, I am. I've been out here in Los Angeles for 4 years now. So,
nice.
Yeah, it's been a ride for sure.
I think everybody here is a Midwesterner. Well, I'm a transplant, but I live here now. But I think this is a Midwest get together, I guess.
Yeah.
What about?
You're from Chicago? Yeah.
Chicago Bears.
You guys might get Russell Wilson, so you might be.
Oh man,
you might be
worth something. Man. Fingers crossed.
I'm a Lions fan. It's rough out here in these streets. I don't want to.
Oh, I feel. I feel for that, man.
Imagine being a Vikings fan right now.
Yeah, I feel your pain, bro. Fucking 90 million on Kirk Cousins, and that. Yeah.
A lot of people think he's underrated. I think.
Well, they didn't watch the games then.
I've never been too big of a fan. He did win me a championship 2 years or 3 years ago when he was on the.
Kirk Cousins is the king of garbage stats. Like his front running stats are amazing.
And saying darn it,
like crunch time when you just need that play, when you just need a play, Kirk he don't do it. He just not his thing. It's not what he's built for. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anyway, enough about sports ball.
Let's go to Matt real quick so he can
Oh yeah, Matt.
audio check and also introduce himself.
So are we just doing like an introduction of our
Yeah.
Like who you
Just-
are, all that stuff.
Okay. I mean, I'm Matt versus politics. I mean, basically, I just talk about like breaking news stuff or whatever, current events, some philosophy. I like philosophy. I consider myself basically like social liberal, but that's in practicality. Ideologically is like Mattism. Yeah. These two guys, Dawson, and then I can't. What's your actual name? I'm sorry.
Oh, me? I just go by Jay.
Jay.
But
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just go by Jay. Yeah.
Yeah, you guys seem pretty cool. I like Dan said, I've been mutuals with Ryan for a long time. I guess that's it. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Oh, just
one quick thing before we get started. I just want to say to all my all the people that watch my streams normally, this will be the last stream I'm doing on YouTube and Twitch. I'm going to be moving to just Twitch after this. I've been a lot of you guys already know this. But just in case, like, you don't catch a lot of my streams, I've been talking about this for a while. But this will be the last stream on YouTube and Twitch. After this, I'll be just on Twitch. And while you guys are here, if you could like the stream, I'd really, really appreciate it. It helps us out to try and grow this thing into maybe giant platform, and I can get like a golden plaque one day or something. Anyway, take it away.
Yeah, you're gonna figure though. All right, yeah. So basically, just to like. For all the viewers out there that may not know who we are, I don't want to put Matt and Ryan in a box, but like just so you know, when you hear us talk, like me and Dawson are socialists. Like we are not. I've been getting attacked by liberals all day. All right, I don't support Trump. Stop saying I do. I don't. So it's really frustrating to deal with that. And you get attacked from both sides as a socialist because the libs hate you and the conservatives really hate you and the libertarians want to like execute you. So that's kind of that. But yeah, so just to kind of open up with what we're doing here, we're going to talk about, like, we already went over the topics of what we're going to talk about. But one of the things that we kind of really just need to air out, like I really feel like we do, because it kind of got a little bit bigger than I thought it would be on TikTok, was the whole hashtag Blockben thing. And I'd rather let Matt and Ryan kick off like how they saw it, and then like me and Dawson can respond to that. So whichever one of you wants to go first. And also, guys, this to the viewers, it's not a debate. This is just a talk, man. I'm friends with Ryan. I'm getting to know Matt, but he seems cool. But I'm friends with Ryan. Like I'm much further left than Ryan, but I'm gonna Mark's pill Ryan before I die. So it's gonna happen anyway. So
Challenge accepted.
Yeah. You guys take it away.
Do you want to
Matt,
go ahead?
do you want to lead off? Because you had you made a video. You seemed to had a pretty more strong opinion on this than I did. So if you want to lead off, I can maybe bounce off what you're saying.
Yeah, that's fine. So one of the main things I wanted to address is that the main thing that I was targeting in my video was specifically the push of blocking Ben because he is a fascist. That was what my assumption was of the movement. Like you were saying before, like we were talking before the show, you don't think it really didn't start out that way. The idea of trying to block Ben because he is a bully, I think that's probably a different conversation and I think it's a much more productive one, in my opinion. I have a pretty high standard of how people should act online if they're going to be like an online figure. And Ben probably doesn't meet that. There's a lot of people that probably don't meet that. But and so I'm do what?
I said Tyler Bluntman can be thrown in there too. God,
me and him have had some great beef lately, so I'm with you there.
I've watched.
Yes, dude. But what was I saying? But yeah, basically there's a lot of people that probably don't meet that. And so I was obviously open to this conversation because initially when I made that video, I was making it from the position of where I stand principally on like blocking people because of ideology. If that makes sense. So I mean, very general, I guess that's kind of where I came from.
Okay. Ryan, what do you think?
Cool. So yeah, I pretty much like agree with what he was saying there, because I did actually see some people using the hashtag and then like using it to like specifically attack some of his political views, calling him like a crypto fascist, and I'm not even sure all of them necessarily know what that means. But I do 100% agree with there needing, especially when you are a larger creator. I know Ben has like 150,000 followers. He's larger than all of us. There comes like a certain responsibility that I at least hold to myself, that you are, and because a lot of our followers are, you know, young, impressionable people. And when you have such a large following, there's some responsibility that comes with it. And I know it's also kind of hard to put this responsibility on people that are so young, because I know I would say a lot of stupid stuff. I'm glad that I didn't get, you know, TikTok when I was in my early 20s or in my teenage years, because I mean, this stuff is on the internet forever. And I know I still say stupid stuff that I sometimes regret, but I know I've grown so much since I was 20 years old, like Ben is right now. So it's finding the balance of holding people accountable to the actions and how they influence their followers, but also having a simultaneously a empathy for this, because I know there's sometimes where I'll stitch a video of someone who's like in their teenage, like they're a teenager or something like that, and I'll be like, you know what, I think there's some accountability needed to be had when you're putting your opinion out in public space, but also it's like I said stupid stuff all the time when I was a kid, right? So I think it's finding a balance, and also I think we can go deeper into, you know, there's a lot of large creators that just, you know, sick their followers on people, and that is something that like really didn't happen. I don't remember that being a thing on Instagram, but it's like rampant on this app, and I see it from people on like both sides. I know I've gotten my comments rated plenty of times. So it's yeah, I guess that's kind of like my general thought, and then we can get deeper into things after we hear your guys' positions here.
Well, that's. Let me just say, like, that's really great, and I just want to go ahead and come out and say before I pass it off to Dawson, because I'll be the last one, but I just want to say too, for the viewers out there, I'm not perfect either. Me and Ryan are literally friends because I'm mutuals with Blackbird 451, who's a good friend of mine as well, and they were having a little back and forth. And I just left a comment on Blackbird's comment section and be like, God, Uncle Dan sucks. And now I feel like such a douchebag because I said that and Ryan saw it, and he just goes like, that sucks, man. I'm actually a nice guy. And then I was like, whoa, because you know what it is? I'm so used to people doubling down that if I say that, you're going to come after me. And I'll be like, wrong move, dude. Like, that's usually how it goes. But for Dan to come out and like extend a hand and be like, and sorry, I go back for calling you Dan because I know you're.
I don't mind. If people call me Dan all the time, it's all right.
Dan's like your user tag name. And then so when I saw that, I felt terrible. So then he was like, hey, man, well, I dropped you a follow. And I'm like, well, shit, now I have to follow him. And so I followed Uncle Dan. And then I was like, hey, man, I'm sorry. I feel like a douchebag now. And he was like super nice about it. He's like, hey, man, it's okay. Like, we can have a conversation. And I just have to give kudos to Ryan on that because he actually topped me in that instance. I was like, Jesus, now I'm the bad guy. So, yeah, I'll pass it over to Dawson. What you think of this whole thing?
Just real quick, I want to say that Jay is probably like the fourth or fifth mutual of mine because I've been mutuals with Ryan for a while, and he's probably the fourth or fifth one that starts out in a beef with him and then ends up being friends with them. Like just in the TikTok
I have
sphere.
a lot of my mutuals are that way. Is starting off with me tagging or stitching them or them stitching me, and then be like, hey, we're people too. Let's be friends.
Well, honestly, Ryan, and this is a good segue into Dawson. Dawson was one of the people that told me, he's like, you know, like he's actually a good guy. So I'll pass it over to Dawson now.
Yeah, Dawson's actually, I think, my maybe my longest mutual. I've been mutuals with him like since like maybe, I don't know. It's been a long time though, I think.
Probably been about a year, maybe like April, May last year.
Yeah.
But in terms of Blockben, you know, I was not the architect of this movement. But something moving forward that shaped my perception is looking back in that I haven't had really any large encounters with Ben. A while ago, I talked about maybe doing a campaign finance debate with him, but this was, well over 9 months ago. But kind of looking forward and how he interacts with people and who he's willing to associate himself with and align himself with during an interaction between two other creators. So I don't know if any of you remember this, or I don't even know how long ago this was, probably September or October. There was one kid who was wearing a certain World War II uniform to school. And I don't know his intentions or whatever, if he, actually aligned himself there, or if he was just, genuinely thought he was doing a good thing by reenacting. But he was wearing it to school and posted about how he got kicked off or kicked out of school or sent home for the day or whatever. And one of my mutuals, Henry, left his best, was kind of making videos about this kid saying, like, you're not the victim. And Ben kind of came forward and did like a full defense of it. And he's done that with other people who are, quite obviously on the alt-right and so on and so forth. Sorry for taking up some time. It's going to take a second to explain here.
No,
Go ahead, ball out.
Take your time.
But that's just one example of why I don't think we should block libertarians in general. That's not my stance. But because libertarianism, and I don't really want to get into this in particular, but libertarianism is the extension of what we're taught in school in like the first layer of, becoming smarter and starting to look at academia. That's the natural progression for lots of young middle-class kids. So it's really appealing to these 14, 15-year-olds. That's why if it was Instagram, I don't think I would be Team Blockben. But because TikTok promotes our videos to people that don't follow us personally, I can't really react to Ben's videos without platforming him at the same time when he associates himself with these other kind of shady alt-right figures sometimes. That's all I really got to say in that sense, and why Ben, I think, is a special case. Yes,
I would, to go off of what Dawson said before I back clean up here, and I like the system. I'm kind of just coming in at the end. I agree with Dawson. It's not about blocking libertarians. And Matt, I'm not sure if I think you saw my video of like, I wanted to make sure people knew this is not about being afraid of being debunked. It really isn't. Me and Dawson are very educated people, and everybody else in that group chat, most of us are very educated people. We have no problem defending our positions. That's not the issue. The issue is the toxicity that comes with it. Now, we'll go ahead and just settle the crypto fascism thing right away, because that way we can get that out of the way and like move into stuff that really does matter. And then that would bring us to like the meat of our discussion, right? Not just talking about Blackbend the whole time. Crypto fascism is someone who is a fascist but doesn't openly support fascism, but will do it through different means by posting up with a fascist, right? So let me just clarify. And if Ben ever sees this, I don't think Benjamin Politics is a fascist. I feel like that's a stretch, especially when we're looking at fascism from the realm of like a government structure or an economic structure. And Dawson could probably go into that even more. But if you're looking at it through that term, no, he inherently is not as a libertarian or anarcho-capitalist, ANCAP, whatever. They have all these weird names now. When you don't even get me started. But yeah, so inherently he can't be, by what fascism, the definition of it is in a government sense. But, and I really want to hit the but here, because I actually made a TikTok on this months ago, and it was about Ben, and he didn't respond to it, and that's fine. I don't care. I was trying to teach a lesson. Libertarianism, as far as we know it in the United States, does share a Venn diagram with fascism. It does. That's not my opinion. There's sources on that. It is very anti-socialist, very anti-communist. It is very traditional in a lot of its like social norms. So what I'm talking about is the social cues that Ben puts off sometimes can come off as crypto fascism. I hope you guys can kind of understand why people would see that, especially the less educated. Like the ones that don't know, right? A real, like me and Dawson study this stuff. So we're like, we know what fascism is, but we know what it isn't, but we can also see the gray areas. When you defend things, and I got like 4 things that I have here. Defending Pinochet, sus. Defending Kyle Rittenhouse, vehemently, very sus. It's things like that. Being anti-sex work as a libertarian, very sus. These are things that you're like. And then my last one that I had written down, I think he took it off, but he had a video where someone asked him, "Do you condemn the riots, the insurrection on January 6th?" And he was like, "No." And when you see stuff like that, it's like, I don't know, but it's suspect. Does that make sense? So I personally do not take the stance that he is a fascist. But I will say that
Just leave it right here.
there is a reasonable cause to believe that. Do you guys get what I'm saying? For someone who isn't fully educated in the field, do you guys get that?
Yeah, no, I can understand that, and I think there's also an issue with a lot of people grouping. There's the issue of like free speech that is oftentimes like it's a common libertarian stance. Obviously, is basically enabling all speech, and that all oftentimes gets grouped in with people who are on the alt-right or like racist because hey, it's like I want to say my racist shit and you think that's okay, and that's why like that unfortunately ends up getting like a lot of times because obviously I completely condemn like all racism, but I support someone's right to say something that's offensive, right? So it's like I can understand why some people would be like, hey, I don't support your stance on that, and I'm like that's okay, and I support your right to say that as well. Like it's like kind of like because and I know I kind of because I know Eddie has talked about Jordan Peterson a lot, but he's definitely someone that I know a lot about, and he oftentimes I think unfairly gets called like a Nazi and alt-right because again his stance on free speech, and we can go into a lot of other stuff. And I would love to actually go into a deeper analysis of Jordan Peterson, but I think there's an issue of grouping that. Now, that being said, I think some of the things that you described about Ben don't really fall into that category, and we can go into those individually. I don't honestly, if I'm being honest, like I've been mutuals with Ben for a long time. He doesn't come up on my page very much, and I really don't know a lot of his stances, to be honest. I've never been in a debate with him. I honestly think because he's very much into the debate scene and strictly just like winning debates, and that's another thing we can talk about, which is like it doesn't seem very much about like progressing anywhere or getting to the bottom of an idea. It's just like winning the debate and like making sure my followers think that I drag them through the mud, and that's something that I think is a lot of toxic behavior because it just further polarizes everybody. Because every time in those debates, it's just like one person's followers think they won, and then all of the other person's followers think they won, and no ground is ever made, and it's all a show. It's all a show. And I think like something like this, where we're actually like, it's the goal isn't to win anything, it's to like understand where everyone's coming from and see where we can move from there. And I think that's just acting by example is a great way of doing that, just by us doing this right now. But I'll concede or give.
We can bounce back, like we can keep going in a circle if you guys want. I don't know how you guys see it, but yeah, you want to respond to that whole thing?
Yeah, you can go ahead.
Oh wait, are you asking me? Sorry,
I'm asking you, Matt. Yeah, then we'll go to Dawson and come back around. Yeah.
Yeah, I do want to say, as bouncing off of what Dan said a little bit, I mean, I don't think Dan would disagree with this either. I'm not like inherently against debating. I mean, half of what we do is like entertainment to some extent. So of course I think debating is good for that. I think one of the problems is being like a debate lord though. In whatever sense we generally think of that as. And I think Ben does fall into that a lot. He's one of these people that gets in this mindset of like everything has to be a debate, where like I have to win, you have to lose. And I think you touched on this earlier, Jay. It's like this idea of, or maybe it was driven of this idea that like I have to be right. I have to find out like every way to justify my positions, and so I have to be right. That gets really toxic, especially when you're pushing followers to act in that same mentality, which we've also touched on a little bit. Yeah, I think also what Dan said, I agree with a little bit as well from what you said, Jay, is like some of the things you described of what he like has said, like I could understand how they would be sus, especially depending on where they're coming from. Like,
Right.
but from me, I think if someone who is like really far right and is defending Kyle Rittenhouse, I'm gonna find them obviously much more suspect than I'm gonna find a libertarian. Now, of course, Benjamin is a little bit of a special case because he is a crap disturber, I guess. So I get that, but yeah, I think those positions themselves, I don't think stand alone as being any indication of anything. I think it also depends on where they come from.
Yeah, Dawson, do you have anything to add, or?
No, not a whole lot here.
I feel like we're all in agreement about that. Like that's not really the case. Whether people took it that way, I'm agreeing with you guys on that. If people took it that way and ran with it and made that the reason, then I think that's false, because that wasn't the reason. And that's great, because now I get to move into the next part, and then after a few minutes of that, we can move into the meat of the discussion of what we can do to make things better, right? So if Ben sees this, he needs to know, and the fans of him that are probably here too, and people that will see it later, and people need to know, there is nobody in that group chat of all the prominent leftist creators. If they're a leftist creator, we talk to each other. Me and Dawson talk to them all the time. There is nobody in that group chat that's afraid to defend their position. And that was a lot of videos being made about that we are afraid of being stitched. Not the case. In fact, we encourage it. In fact, I think we enjoy it. I enjoy the discourse. I do not enjoy, me personally, and then Dawson can talk on it, do not enjoy lies and immature ratioing type stuff. What are we doing? You're just going to comment the alphabet in my comments section? That's not discourse. Get out. Like, that's like a kid like breaking stuff in your house. It's like, no, just get out. That's not an argument, doing stuff like that. And then also something I want to tag into, and I'm not saying you did this, Matt, but you mentioned it in your video. You mentioned Comrade Kitty, the girl with the short hair, Zoe. Oh no, his vote.
No, it's all good. I think I was just muted myself. Was that the girl who said the crypto fascist thing?
Right, right. So
okay.
Their name is Zoe. Me and Dawson are very good friends with them. They get it so much worse than guys like me and Dawson do. Zoe, Tory Noodles, so many other female presenting leftist creators get told to kill themselves every day. That's an everyday thing. That is a problem. And they, what they should be.
Hey, real quick, Jay. There's got quite a few comments about people just want a little context. But like, if you arrived late, basically we're talking about the Blockben hashtag. Benjamin Politics is a ANCAP creator on TikTok, and he has developed a pretty toxic following. And normally, what happens is people get in back and forth with him, like Zoe, Comrade Kitty, and stuff, and they stitch her videos or things like that, and it ends up becoming a toxic thing where his fan base harasses him or her. And Jay created a hashtag Blockben because instead of
I was going to anyway, but yeah.
Yeah, well, I just want they were asking for like a little clarification because in case they got here late, and but that's pretty much it. Jay created the hashtag, so just to kind of eliminate the whole thing. And that's kind of the explanation that we're going through here, the discussion we're having.
So I'll sum it up real quick, and Dawson's a witness to it. The thing is, you know what? I'm just going to go through the thing is with Comrade Kitty, Tory Noodles, Leftist Leah, any of these incredible people that I know that are very good friends of mine. They have some of the thickest skin I know, and Dawson can attest to that because we're behind the scenes. And these people get harassed daily in their comments. And I mean heinous stuff that isn't told to me, stuff that nobody dares say in my comments. But to them, because they're seen as women and they're seen as, oh, you're weak, I'm coming after you. That makes me very angry. So I'm very careful about I'm actually careful about stitching female creators or women creators because I'm like, I don't know. don't want to. I just have to be careful about that because I don't want to come off as like this bully. I'm not saying you did that, Matt. I'm just giving you some context for like that whole issue. But then that leads me to my next thing, and then we will nip this in the bud, and we will move on and talk about other stuff other than hashtag Blockben. I promise. For those wondering, yes, it was my idea. If you guys have seen the Game of Thrones meme of Elena Terrell like sitting at the table, like tell Cersei I want her to know it was me. Yeah, it was me, like 100%. And then, but other people just jumped on it immediately. I did not make the first video. And the grievances like stacked up over time. I won't even go through them all, but this is a list of like what other people have told me that has happened to them and things that I have seen. And it is things like, I'll give you an example. For me, he challenged me to a fight until he realized I'm twice his size. Then he backed off that. Accused me of like buying. I'm a poor college kid. Are you kidding me? I live off ramen noodles and soup. You think I want to buy 500 likes for a video? Get out of town. Like that one's funny. One of the biggest ones too, I got to mention because you guys know him too. My _ dude, Tommy, right? Him and Tommy had a back and forth in the summer and they were supposed to have a debate. He then blocked Tommy because he said, your fans doxed me and I don't want to debate you. And he's like, I'm not going to do any debates, actually. The next day, he tries to debate a content creator, a 15-year-old content creator, zooted leftist, this teenage girl. And we're like, excuse me? You can't do that. Things like joking about tasing creator Comrade Conrad. Things like joking about killing leftists. Stalking notorious AAV through alternative accounts to stitch videos. I got a whole list here. There's just too many, but I will sum it up to this because I literally could go through this. Caden Politics, who's a 17-year-old kid, was harassed for a week by those followers, and the list goes on and on and on. But the one that got me, where I was like in the group chat and Dawson was there for it, when Ben attacked Eddie as an anti-Semite and as a white supremacist, went too far. And I showed Eddie the video, and Eddie was obviously livid because it was sent to me because I don't go to Ben's profile. His profile is dumb to me, but especially now that he's blocked. When he did that, that's when I dropped in the chat, and Dawson probably remembers, I was like, we just need to block him, like mass block, because 95% of his content is stitching us and lying about us or harassing teenage leftists. Get out of town. And that's where that went. I hope you guys can understand that. Maybe Dawson can elaborate a little bit more. And also, last thing, and then I'm pretty much don't have anything else to say about it. Matt, I just wanted to tell you, in your video, you talked about how like, oh, look, like there's no leftist videos up there. It's everybody defending Ben. Matt, we all got our videos taken down. We were mass reported the frick out of that. Mine had like 1,100 likes before it got taken down. Dawson's everybody's was doing well, but like the top videos, it was about 10 of us. It was actually really funny in the group chat. Dawson, you remember when Michael was like man down and like he sent the screenshot of like harassment and bullying? It was like a funny thing at that point that we all got taken down. So by his fans. Just wanted to clear that. But yeah, if anybody else wants to give feedback on that, I have nothing else to offer on Blackbend.
I'd like to say something.
Yeah.
So I like obviously like I'm not all of those, like everything you listed on that list is like something that I absolutely would like condemn and say that you like it just shouldn't be done. But it also leads me back to this app is populated by a lot of young people, and I can tell you, I can guarantee you that Ben has been told to kill himself many times. I've been told to kill myself many times, and I've come to like a point in maturity to like kind of like ask them why they're saying something like that, than rather like Ben's response is like, hey, I'm gonna fight you and come here and I have a gun, and I like, which is like an incredibly immature response. And in one of the videos I saw recently, I don't know what his username is, but he's a black guy with like a beard. I think his name is Conrad something. But what was it?
Sparkles.
Yeah, Conrad Sparkles. Okay. Yeah. So I saw them like in a video together, and like he was like saying he's gonna beat Ben's ass, and then Ben was like coming back with a gun, and he's like, "Let's have a gunfight." And I'm just like, "This is so stupid. It's so
Dawson,
it's
you want
so
to
stupid."
talk about that real quick? You know how Red Sparkles is.
I don't think I have a lot to say about it, honestly.
Ryan, I agree with you that is stupid, but if you know who Sparkles is he is wild.
I don't know him. Yeah, I don't really know much about
But
him.
that's always what he does. Like, you guys remember when Marcus Diapola like gave that really shit take on Texas? Like, they can all burn.
Absolutely.
And, like, yeah,
Die because you didn't vote for Biden. Yeah.
Yeah, if you didn't vote for Biden, you guys can all burn because your state died and like didn't do it.
Yeah.
You guys can die. Anyways, Sparkles, that's when I found him because he made a video of you like, how about we have some Discord with your face? Like, that's his brand.
Yeah, that's his
I want
brand.
to go and throw that out there. Sparkles' brand is very much like, I'm gonna punch you in the face. Like, it's always the first coach.
Well, but that doesn't. I mean, I understand that, but that's like, oh, well, that's just Trump. You know what I mean? I don't know if that's a good excuse for you're saying you're gonna punch somebody. You know what I mean? Like,
excuse, but I'm saying if you go through Sparkles' content, he says it to like everybody. Like, they can all get these hands, and it's just, I think he tries to do it in a comedic way, but it doesn't come off comedic. So
Well,
yeah.
just like if anybody's done with the Block Benjamin, we can continue on. But something that like I've noticed the last couple days, and Blackbird made a video about it, and it's something that I'd seen, and I kind of just doing TikTok math. Like, I've seen, just speaking of stitching videos and things, like I've seen a lot of you see a lot of it, incredibly toxic, racist stuff. You know, all kinds of stuff get tons and tons of views. And most of that is because a lot of people, you know, that aren't complete assholes will stitch those videos or duet them, and then they will, you know, either debunk that argument or, you know, just explain why it's bad or whatever. And then, you know, our followers will go to that comment section, and that's why those videos get boosted. And so, like I think we have to. I think an interesting discussion is like, where do we draw the line of like, do you call that argument out and confront that content creator and boost their content at the same time? Or do you just like leave it alone and let it die and not get the mass amount of views and reach millions of people? Because that's what's happening with a lot of these toxic videos online. And I think TikTok especially is a place with a lot of young people. And it's just like, it's got like people are very like, there's like a bigger like sense of community on TikTok as opposed to like Instagram. Like, I don't hang out or do live streams with anybody I met on Instagram. You know what I mean? It's different.
It's it.
Right, yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Bangers, all right, just the bangers.
Dan, was there anything else you wanted to say, Dan? Because there was a few things I was wanting to run through.
Yeah, no, you two.
Yeah, go ahead. Ball out.
I did want to.
I'm done with Blockben, but you three can like go back and forth. But I've said everything I'm going to present. So,
I think there's like the issue also of just the polarization of like I've said something that, you know, can be viewed as somewhat conservative, and then people will automatically just assume that I have this whole array of views, and they put me in a box, and then it's all of a sudden like, oh, so you're a racist too. And it's like, I don't know how it's because I had something that had literally, I was talking about something that had nothing to do with race, and then all of a sudden it's just like these jumps get made. And I think that like we group people, we oftentimes are able to like, and on Ben's case, like, because I'm sure his inbox has been flooded many times with, you know, like, just kill yourself and shit like that. So
I'm sure
he's as a young person, I can see how that could lead you to end up, you know, projecting a bunch of toxic behavior. And and it's easy to like let, you know, your followers get to your head. And honestly, and obviously you've said you're good friends with him. I think someone who has a lot of issue with this is Blackbird. He oftentimes sicks his followers on people, maybe unintentionally, but he doesn't tell them not to.
He does.
I know, but he's the reason why he has a lot of followers like that is because of the way he presents his arguments. He tries to demean people and talk down to them. I'm not saying he's a bad person, honestly. Like, he's probably a cool dude, but he like acts like an asshole on here a lot, on TikTok a lot.
And you know what's funny in defense of that, real quick, just in defense of it, the same way that, and this will kind of segue into like what you were texting me about when DMing me about, as we get caught into our personas. Like, Blackbird's like super chill and nerdy, but like there's the TikTok persona, which is different. right?
Mhm.
It's
Right.
but like when you talk to Blackbird, he's like funny. Like everything
No,
about
I can see that. No, I like, and that's why I'm not gonna comment and be like, oh, he's a bad person. But like, I definitely have many times disagreed because, like, how we talked about, it's like a lot of his videos don't seem like it's trying to create a positive discourse. It's just like, I'm gonna make you look stupid, and then all my followers are gonna applaud me for it. And that's like I think a common issue. But the difference here is that, you know, Blackbird is, I don't know how old he is. He's like in his 30s. You know, Ben is 20 years old. So it's like they're creating like not exactly the same thing, but they're cultivating a following that is built off of, you know, kind of just demeaning people. And that's why it's like he may not tell his followers to go do it, but the reason they're doing it is because they followed him because he talks down to people, right?
So I agree with you. I agree with you, Ryan. I will say this though. Whereas Blackbird, I've seen him tell people like, "Don't go do this." We have like, there's evidence of Ben doing the opposite, of him telling people,
And that's reprehensible, 100%. If
Yeah.
if you have evidence of Ben like telling his followers to go like,
Yeah, it's in Discord.
absolutely, that's
that.
disgusting behavior. That's disgusting behavior. Like, you can't do that because, you know, there, and especially in these times, there's a lot of people who are teetering on the edge of like mental stability and even wanting to be here, and all of a sudden you get a bunch of people coming in and saying, "Hey, fucking kill yourself."
Especially
Some people might do it, you know.
especially teenagers. Like,
Yeah.
and Dawson, you know him too. Caden, you know Caden Politics or Caden Pole.
Don't think I do. Maybe
He's
I
in
do.
one of our group chats. But yeah, anyway, he's a 17-year-old kid, like very soft-hearted, like tries to make videos that presents like, here's what socialism is. And if you listen to him, he sounds like Linus from the Peanuts gang. Like he has like a little lisp and everything. But a soft-hearted kid.
Yeah.
Like you talk to Caden, I've been on streams with Caden. Such a nice kid, and he just wants. He's very kind and stuff like that. They came after him for like over a week, where he was like, "I can't do this anymore," and he was like posting in his friends only. He's like, "Just please, people, leave me alone." Like, and it's stuff like that that makes me as like an anti-bully type. Because when I was in high school, that was my persona. In high school, I'd be like, "Excuse me, are you picking on my friend? Like, I'm bigger than you. I'll eat you, dude." Like, I was like that. And that's kind of triggering the same thing in me, where it's like, don't make fun of my good people like that. Those are my friends. Don't do that, you know? And yeah, it's pretty bad. But yeah, so if you have any, but I mean, I have no other cases to present in that, but I want to hear what you guys have to think of that. So
Yeah, there was a few things I was want to say. Okay, the first one, this is like pretty inconsequential, but you said that most of your videos, like on the hashtag Blockben, got like mass reported and then like took down or whatever.
Yeah.
I just wanted to note that Eddie, I think, actually commented on my video about that and was like, "Hey, you totally just disregarded my video or whatever." But like, I wanted to make sure that I commented on that. Well, I commented on there, but I want to comment here that I actually ignored his video on purpose because it was, like I said in the comments, I thought his video was actually pretty good, and it was actually targeting the idea of Ben being a bully, not Ben being a fascist. So that, you know, I just wanted to make sure that like that was said. That way we're like kind of identifying the two different like arguments that I think have been presented as far as Blockben. Does that, if that makes any sense?
No, it does. It really does. I get that.
And then I guess
there you go.
there's a few things here that I think play into like the larger point, which I think we all agree with, which is like you said, like smaller accounts get it worse, mainly female, toxic community bullying, you know, all this weird stuff about challenging to a fight, buying likes, especially like the younger people going after younger people and stuff like that. And I think, and I guess this starts to get into what we were going to talk about later, which is like how do we stop toxicity on TikTok?
Right.
Which is, I think, the main thing that I have a problem with anybody's account, and I think Ben is not great at this, is trying to manage your community well. I mean, I think this is pretty standard, but people don't actually like think about it. This is why like a lot of people say that saying like, you know, slurs on a public platform are bad is not because necessarily like you're saying it or whatever, like, or like the word itself has inherent like evilness to it. It's because you're spreading a message to a platform of people, and that can spread bad ideas. And it's the same thing with like, you know, harassment or whatever. It's the way you act on your platform that then carries over into your followers and makes them toxic, if that makes any sense. That's why I try to keep my community clean, or as clean as I possibly can. That's, you know, I hope that, like, you know, no one from my videos went over to, I think you said Comrade Kitty was her name. You know, I hope that never happened, but I try to like really keep my community clean so like stuff like that doesn't happen. And I think
I watched all your content before this, Matt. I went through like 30 of your videos just to get a feel on you. Like I do that, and I don't think you're a toxic person. I
Cool.
really, I want to go ahead and throw that out there. Like I went through it, I was like, Matt seems all right. Like I disagree with him, but he's an all right guy. There's no reason to hate you or anything. So,
thank you. I appreciate that, for real. I guess, but yeah, that I think Ben probably has shown. One of the problems I have with people, you know, throw stuff like this out, and like, you know, like the bullying accusations or stuff, and I always don't like comment on stuff like that, or like Blackbird. Like I don't know exactly what Blackbird's like, because I have a real problem of like, I don't watch many other people's stuff. I'm really bad about that. And so, but I've started to see that more and more. In fact, I'll try and keep it short, sorry, but there was a little anecdotal thing that happened here. There's a group chat on Instagram, and actually Comrade Conrad, he actually made a video talking about this group chat. And and there's someone in there named Heath. You might have heard of him. I think he made the group chat. And apparently Heath just sent like a meme in there about Ben. It was about his ex-girlfriend and about like how a car crash, because, you know, the car crash meme. And Ben like got super furious about it, and he blocked him. And that was a few days, I think, before all this Blockben stuff. And that's when I, you know, really started to come around and be like, you know, that feels a little weird. It feels a little silly. I meme on a lot of people. And the only one that's actually been serious has been about Tyler Blutman. I welcome any memes about me. And so, you know, if
Tyler, just so we're all on board. So for all those watching, whether you're left or right, all four of us hate Tyler. like
Good.
All five of us actually. Driven's in there.
Let's say, who's the fifth? Who's one of these is not like the other.
Nobody on this stream right now that thinks Tyler's a good person. All right, dude, come on. Anyway,
but I think this is you know, like going from the bin thing onto toxicity on social media. I think part of and I agree with Dan. You know, like I'm 32. If I would have had a platform of any kind when I was 20 years old, I don't think I would have managed it well, and I probably would have been a toxic son of a bitch. Just, you know what I mean? Like I think like I'm older now, and like what people say, like I've just been through enough stuff. Like it doesn't bother me. Like I get called a lizard person 3 times a day because of my QAnon content, and you know, whatever. It doesn't bother me. But I think we have to, like, as content creators, we have to have like a better way, like a higher, we got to like hold ourselves to a higher standard. And I've been trying to do it lately too, like not going for the low hanging fruit, because like what gets views, and like talking about Blackbird's videos or Ben's videos or anybody's videos, is ducking. It is kind of toxic behavior. Like we all know, like if we have like a really solid, like nuanced breakdown take of like infrastructure policy, 17 views. Dunking on Tyler Blutman for the 150th time, 50,000 views. And we all want to get views. So I think it's and that trickles down into people who either, you know, they don't follow politics as much, or, you know, they get a lot of their news and stuff from social media. Like in a way, we are information source. So it's like, but we're completely on our own. So it's like, I think it starts with us holding ourselves to a higher standard as far as like making content goes. And I think it's tough, like the younger you are, to really, you know, manage all that.
I gotta talk on the age thing real quick. Like I do think age does matter, right? Like as far as like your maturity, but let's also not discount that this is how you learn. You learn from these things because you're an adult. Dawson, aren't you 20? Yeah, I'm 24. right? And like, I mean, like, what are we gonna do here? I'm 4 years older than Ben. Am I that much more mature? No, I could easily just as be as toxic as him. There does come a point, and this goes to all the viewers and everything. There comes a point where it's like you're an adult now. You're gonna own it. Like there comes a point where it's just like if you're going to reap the consequences for what you say and what you do because you're no longer a teenager. And so,
Oh, and
no,
to go off of that, I think also if you're gonna try to be like someone who deals in politics and stuff, like these are things that like affect people's lives. So you're gonna have like a lot of passionate people responding to you. So if you're like a young person, like you have to understand like it's gonna come with like certain consequences that like putting your opinion out there, especially one that could be controversial. Because like politics is always been something that it's something it's hard to talk
Controversial,
about.
yeah.
It's hard to talk about. So like I think these a lot of these kids come in here and they idolize like a lot of these larger creators and they're like, hey, I can do that. I can like tell my opinion, and then all of a sudden they say something and they're like, a bunch of people are telling me to kill myself now, and it's like.
Well, and there's a big difference too between, as far as the toxic, there's a big difference between just not knowing any better and making a bad take and being purposely, disingenuous or just outright lying to people. I mean, I think we know who is doing, for the most part, I think you can tell who is doing which.
And I feel like the people who unfortunately try to be nuanced with their takes, like I feel like all of us are great creators and we don't have like half the followers as some of these people who are just completely biased and they just play. It's kind of like how the news is. It's like we don't want to have any like we're just going to be completely biased. We're going to play to our audience, and that's going to be that because that's what gets the views. That's what pays the bills. It's not having a nuanced take. It's saying like, oh, this is right and that's wrong, and fuck anybody who thinks that.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
even the whole. Just real quick, even the whole Marcus controversy shows that. Like he literally said, like I don't, basically said, ha ha, Republicans, you voted for it. It's like, dude, those are people, and not only that, like you are doing exactly what everybody on the right thinks of liberal media or thinks of mainstream media. You're saying like you're acting like you're better than everybody, and you, who's the biggest news source on TikTok, is going to make everybody on the right hate you because you just said they can die because they voted Republican. So why would they take you seriously?
And then using the fact that he's like, oh, I'd make news for kids. It's like, you're the biggest news source on TikTok. Like, it's not just for kids anymore.
Yeah.
Right.
Dawson, you were going to say something? You've been quiet.
Yeah, it just feels like we're shifting gears, so I wanted to get this in kind of about comment rating, in particular with Ben. The problem with Ben is that it's almost impossible to just deplatform him without blocking, because his followers are not just like normal, comment rating saying, haha, you're really stupid, but they'll go in, like particularly with the Eddie situation, and just comment like, you're an anti-Semite. Even if they don't care about anti-Semitism, they don't make content about that, or like they'll just go raid and make these comments that are inherently provocative to force Eddie to make a response, even if his intent was to back off because Ben associates himself with shady people sometimes. I just wanted to get that in because I felt like we were
right. Because if he just leaves it in his, I mean, you can try to clear that stuff, but if enough people are saying it, like someone's going to come into your comments and be like, "Well, maybe this guy is an anti-Semite." And
sorry, go ahead.
And like, yeah, I feel for Eddie there because it's like, honestly, I just became mutuals with him. I'm just starting to like go through his content, but he seems like a genuine person. Like I may disagree with some of his political views, but he seems like a nice guy, and it doesn't seem in any way like an anti-Semite to me. So like I can, it's like, yeah. There you go. And it's like, it's just tough because I know I've got a lot. I've got a lot of like toxic followers, and I try to make every like couple of weeks a video about it because I'll stitch a video and then I'll go into the comment. And now I don't even like tag people in videos I stitch anymore because I don't want this to happen. But I'll go to the comment section and I'll see like a toxic comment. I'm just like, I hope this person doesn't follow me. And I click on them and they follow me. And I'm like, fuck. Like I caused this person to be like the victim of like this toxic behavior. And there's like, I don't know how to necessarily like fix it. I've been really trying to re-angle my content, because when I first started off, I feel like I was exactly like what I like called it Blackbird out for. I would find someone and I would demean them and I would try to make them look as dumb as possible. That was like my goal, because that's what got a bunch of likes. And unfortunately, I think that did cultivate a lot of followers that are just like, I want him to do that. That's what I want. And now I'm like dealing with the consequences of that, unfortunately.
We've talked about it in our group chat before. Unfortunately, it's like people want blood, and that's what I've noticed. I've also changed gears from a lot of my content. When I first started out, like a lot of it was me just ripping up Trumpies, and which was easy, right? But I literally got tired of doing it. I was like, this isn't me. Like, and driven, like, remember that like goofy one I made about Cam Higbee, where it's like me just memeing like the whole time in the car, like having a like that's me. I'm a goofball. Like, I'm smart, but I'm also at the same time like I'm not serious. Like, I'm not this serious of a person. So I started like shifting my content away from that to like make more funny stuff for the chuckles, about real life. And growth is nothing. I'm at like 40K. Been there for a minute. It's where, so whatever.
I think it's one thing. I think it's one thing to call out absurdity. I mean, because I definitely do that sometimes, but to like target like individual people's, like if you're calling out like absurdity with a position, or but like it's when it's like individual people, like it's Cam, is a pretty large platform, and I think it matters a lot if you're punching up or punching down.
True.
Like if you're going after somebody, like I just like I've gotten a few crazy stitches the last couple of days from people that have like 1,000 followers, but I'm not gonna go in and do a video about them, because one thing that is definitely bipartisan is toxic behavior on TikTok. So I don't want anybody from my my followers going over and making this person's day shit or whatever. So I try to stop from that, and instead of like and something I do, even with if I do stitch somebody's video, I try to call out like the argument as opposed to the person. Like, don't do any like ad hominems, or like you listen here, you pudgy some bitch. I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm not good with the insults, I guess.
I wanted to touch on a few things. So Jay earlier said this is the way. Like he said, what doesn't excuse what Ben does is like this is the way you learn. And I think that's one of the big things that is a problem with Ben. Like if this was like, I don't know, however many months ago, like after he started, I think this wouldn't have been a big deal. But like because it's reoccurring, I understand that, especially with what Dawson said. Like the only way to make a difference is blocking him, since he will not learn, right? And I don't think it's like hard. Most of us, like Dan said, he changed his behavior with his like the way he makes TikToks. And then actually bouncing off of what Driven said too, I think there is an important difference to differentiate between like making videos that are attacking and then like videos that are discourse. Like I still stitch a lot of people's videos, and I think Eddie, he commented something, and then I said, oh well, I don't really have like a problem specifically with people who stitch videos, because I don't like if you're stitch like inherently I don't have a problem with it. If you stitch someone's video and then like you're attacking them, that's an issue, especially because like now you're fostering a community that wants to go attack them. But if you stitch videos and then like you're trying to like actually like make a really good argument, I think that's fine. And if the people are actually crazy and they're like, adults, they're not like 17-year-olds like Comrade Kitty or something like that. I think you can be pretty hard on them as well. But like understanding these like different realms of how you can act, I think are really important. And a lot of people do not understand these different realms. And that's what creates toxicity. Does that make sense?
There's no room for nuance on the internet.
Right. Yeah.
It's hard in 1 minute videos too. Yeah. It's very difficult to.
Right.
Dawson, you're really unproblematic, man. Your stuff is like just kind of like instructional and educational. Well, no, I was talking Dawson too.
Awesome.
Like he doesn't do the blood sport how I started out, and that's because, like, dude, I'm inherently like I don't know. Eddie's a better man than me because Eddie's a wrestler. I'm a boxer. My whole life, I've always like fought for everything, So like that is like my intention, not my intentions, but like that's my go-to. Like, oh, okay, let's square up. And Eddie is like so soft spoken and so nice, and he's like restless for a living. So it's pretty funny how that works. But yeah, I just think cutting out the blood sport, I think would be good. Like, I wish that we could actually have good discourse. I remember one that I had, and we're mutuals now, which is weird because I thought she would hate me afterwards. But American Hannah made a video, and this was months ago, and I was like, "This is a bad take, but I'm gonna do this like with some grace and some decorum, and I'd say this is in good faith of what I'm trying to say. Hopefully, you get it." And like Victoria Hammett was included in that video because they were part of that video. And yeah, I thought, I was like, well, they're about to hate me. And then like a week later, Hannah just adds me back. It was like,
Yeah, I'm mutuals with Hannah. I've been
Same.
mutuals with her for a while now, and I've definitely stitched her before. We've had disagreements, but I think Hannah's cool. But on the other hand, though, Victoria blocked me long time ago, long time ago, and it's what's funny is, my feed is still filled with videos from Victoria, just people stitching her because like she just makes a whole lot of interesting takes, and I've kind of.
me and Dawson as socialists, communists, whatever you want to call us, have definitely had our issues with that side of TikTok.
Yeah. Yeah, no. So, and the thing is, she's got like, I don't know, like almost 700,000 followers, and that's like the issue I have is like I feel like I really like all of you guys, and like they don't get like the exposure, and then someone like that who just makes like, she just does a lot of like virtue signaling and these like really just unnuanced bias takes, just like again and again and again, and then just she just keeps on growing and growing and growing, and it's just like it's very frustrating to see sometimes, especially.
Well, and I think that's so like harmful for like the partisan. Like I really, like most of my content is on the right and like the far, like just I deal with a lot of right wing content, and I really think like a lot of people on the right are reachable, but the way they think of like the left is like just this like smug, like they have like this thought in their head of the left, and I think a lot of people on TikTok that don't really take the time. Like, I think there needs to be like more patience with like your content and more like explanation and more more nuance. And I think when you do like these like half-assed kind of like, oh, look at this thing that happened, when you like don't give the details, like I think it just makes it that much worse. Like, there's a lot of people that get their their information from TikTok, because most people don't have 10 hours a day to watch the news or pay attention to stuff. They just see like, oh, this happened, okay, scroll, and then that's the thought they get in their head. And I think like trying to get people to like just take a look at something and realize like, well, hey, maybe there's another side to this. Like just shitting on people will never get them to change their mind.
True. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, there's something I want to mention too. And maybe Dawson, I don't like you sitting over there all quiet. You're a buddy of mine, and I know that you'll let us keep talking if you don't weigh in. So I have to keep drawing you in there. So, but maybe Dawson, you could talk on, and I'll just throw out a couple statements on it. I can see why people think that about the left, and
I'm talking more about like the neoliberal, like the left. You know what I mean?
And the problem is with generalizing, and it happens on both sides of putting them all in the same box, where it's like there's very different views coming up.
That's the other thing too, and I pretty much every leftist creator has been dealing with this for like weeks now. Leftist and liberal are not the same thing. We do not like them. They don't like us. In fact, a lot of times we dislike them more than conservatives, and that's a fact. Because a lot of what they do is even almost more harmful than your average conservative. And I'm not kidding. Like, a lot of what they do is like, because here's the thing with conservatives, and I'll pass it off to Dawson. I'm going to pass it to you in a second. But I feel like with conservatives, a lot of it is like, you just don't know. So I can have patience. In real life, outside of TikTok, because believe it or not, I do have a life outside of TikTok. I had 6 people by hanging out with me and talking to me at school, like changed their vote and didn't vote for Trump because they were like, man, you're right. A lot of it's just like, you don't know. Right. But here's my beef with liberals. when you sit down with them and you explain theory, you explain class struggle, you explain all this stuff, and they still sit there and go, no, that's my issue. I'm like, oh, screw you guys. You actually know better, and you don't care. That's my thing. But Dawson,
Well, the biggest problem is information sources. You know what I mean? They just don't like, even people, the neoliberal class. The only reason Bernie Sanders didn't win is because everybody on MSNBC and CNN and everything said Bernie can't win. We have to vote for Joe because they're going to call Bernie a socialist. And then Trump just called him a social. You know what I mean? He just called Biden a socialist for 6 months or whatever. It's where you get your information from, and that's why I think there needs to be more nuance and content. That's kind of why I started making like YouTube and other kind of content, because the leftist media sphere is just lacking. Like, there's just not enough of it, and not enough. There's a very small segment on like YouTube, and that's it. But it's just the lack of information just gets people to kind of form an ideology, and then once like they think they know enough, like they just look for validation instead of more knowledge.
True.
Well, Dawson,
Sorry, go ahead, Dawson.
you want to say like leftist liberal thing and how we're kind of getting tired of, like, just go off, like, do your thing.
Okay. So I don't know if any of you saw it. I made a post a few days ago. I think it was Thursday morning, about how I'm from North Dakota and my side of the family from the oil producing part of the state. From pretty much everybody I know out there, they get terrified when they hear these liberals say that, we're going to ban fracking, and they're like mad at Biden for not doing it yet. And this is a real thing, is how out of touch liberals are, that it really does make, it turns conservatives off, it turns leftists off, it turns people that actually like deal with the problems that liberals talk about mad, because liberals don't understand it. It's inherently performative. Again, it's all about, proving your point and kind of rubbing in and owning the conservatives when, there's definitely conservatives that are reachable. And if you turn them all off, that's all I have. If you turn off all of them, then, we can't grow our base at all. So yeah, then liberals kind of make that harder for us by being obnoxious, and then making conservatives group us in with them.
Yeah.
Also, and me and Ryan talked about this in DMs. I got so sick of, leading to the election, so sick of liberals calling themselves leftists. Like, I made videos on that. Excuse me, are you a capitalist? Then no, you are not on my team. Like, it was so inherently, it was so like, it became like a thing for them to be cool. That bothered me. It's like, no, this isn't, I made several videos on it. This isn't a hammer and sickle pin you put on your backpack. This is class consciousness. This is you understanding struggle. This is you understanding working class problems. And when you co-opt that to be like, isn't it cool that I'm a radical leftist? Or not radical, like, to use it in terms of like, I'm a leftist now. It's like, no, you're not. Like, at most a sock dem. Like, so it's got tired of that, and kind of and war with that. I'll speak for myself though. Leading up to the election, I didn't really speak on those matters, because I was like, right now it's going to take every person to beat Trump. So, and I was like, and even though Biden sucks, I was like, the other one is dangerous. So I was like, let's beat him first, and then we can bully Biden all we want. That was my take.
I do want to say, obviously, I'm not a lefty, so I don't know of this like actual. I don't have any firsthand experience of this divide between you guys, or like,
We'll get there.
how the fight goes. But I do notice what Dawson has said, which is like the idea of like, it seems like a lot of liberals on TikTok, they're really big on acting like conservatives are not reachable, and like performative acting all the time. I mean, Victoria and me are mutuals. We're chill for the most part, but she does a lot of this. And she's gotten better, but a lot of these people are like this, and it's I mean, I think that only can add to the toxicity a little bit, at least in general public discourse. Maybe not on TikTok as much, but
yeah.
Well,
I just want to. Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, I just want to add one thing, kind of before we move on to the next topic. And there's a clip of me saying that. I do not mean that I think that every leftist, particularly people from imperialized countries, need to always be willing to talk to every conservative because there's trauma there. But for those of us who are not victims of these systems that leftists fight to, get rid of, it is our duty to, be able to be willing to reach out and not push people aside just because they've been indoctrinated a certain way.
Yeah, Dawson, to bounce off you real quick, I want to clear that up too. When I'm talking about that, I'm talking about mainly like American conservatives who haven't really done anything. They just work here. You know what I mean? Like I understand like trauma and stuff like that, but I'm talking like when you're talking leftists here, we're already a minority, growing quite a bit, by the way, according to a lot of studies. But the fact is, it's like, dude, I have noticed the average like Republican voter or conservative voter here that I meet that isn't like Trump pilled. They're just like, that's the Republican, I guess, and they're working or they're going to school or what have you. Really easy to talk to them because like it's like, dude, I don't like the state either. Like that's like such a big part. And once they realize that, they're like, wait, I thought you guys want full entire control. I'm like, no. Like we only want to like mitigate a lot of things. Like we also want the state to dissolve at some point. So there's actually a lot of, I would say there's a better Venn diagram with like your average working class deceived conservative with leftism. That Venn diagram blends a lot. Like you want working class power, so do we. You want your guns, so do we. Like we can keep going down that road, and I think people don't realize that.
When I think one of the my favorite quote is from Michael Brooks, R.I.P. Be ruthless with institutions and be kind to people. And I think one thing we have to like focus on is like getting back more to like policy, because if you go to issue for issue, like a lot of Americans agree, like 2/3 of the country want to raise the minimum wage. Medicare for all is overwhelmingly popular, or at least some form of government-run healthcare. Canceling some form of student debt, raising taxes on rich people. All these like policy things, for the most part, are pretty. We're pretty in sync on that we have disagreements, but what the right wing is so good at, and this is what I try to push back on a lot, is they push these bullshit like cultural arguments. Like Fox News will spend 3 days talking about Mr. Potato Head and now Pepe Le Pew today, I guess, I don't know, and they bring out these kind of things. That's again the low hanging fruit, and that's a problem that I have with a lot of TikTok creators, is they'll use stuff like that and be like, "Oh, do you see the crazy left is canceling, Mr.
True.
Potato Head," and that's what turns people off from the policy.
Yes,
and that is one thing that just like really drives me nuts.
Yeah,
And I
because
think we need to work on
when you take into account like working class people in like rural areas in the country, they're like, why is this being told me that the Mr. Potato Head is an important issue right now when like I just want to feed my family, I want to ensure that I have a job in the future, and like you're telling me that this or in addition to that, like I'm not saying in any way that we shouldn't absolutely like respect trans people, but it's like that's another issue that's being touted as like the most important thing right now, and for a lot of Americans are like, I don't even know a trans person. Like, that's not important to me. And again, I'm not trying to like, discount trans people in any way. Yeah. I'm just saying like, it's simply not relevant to a lot of people. And it's like one of the most like talked about issues right now. And it's just, it really draws people away from, and again, it's a generalization of just like generalizing, well, I guess if you think that, then like you also have all these liberal views, and then there's no discourse after.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, that's because the right wing establishment right now has no policy. Like they have no policy they can point to. Every single one of them just voted against the COVID bill. It's going back to the House. Every single one of them, I guarantee, will vote against it there. So that is the thing, and that's what I try to like focus on with my content, is calling out the institutions of the right, because they are just god awful, and that is the kind of stuff they're pushing. Trans women are ruining sports. It's like, okay, I guess. Mr. Potato Head.
Can I just who cares? Like about Mr. Potato Head? I don't care.
Right.
I don't care about Paw Patrol. Do whatever you want. You're a business. Do your thing. I don't play with it. And I thought it was hilarious that so many people took issue with Mr. Potato Head. I'm like, I guarantee you haven't thought about Mr. Potato Head since you were 6. Or since you saw Toy Story.
Well, the thing is that these stories, I did videos on pretty much every one of them. Every single time it was just blown out of proportion. Like in the Mr. Potato Head case, they just like made a potato, they still sell Mr. and Mrs. Potato Head. And with the, what was the other one? The
Potato Child.
The Dr. Seuss.
Spudling.
The Dr. Seuss thing, that was something they decided to do in 2019 after running they ran some focus groups about and they did like some studies. So they decided as a company, it would be better for them to take those off the shelf and go in a different direction. And one school board in Virginia decided they weren't going to make Dr. Seuss a priority. So all these stories are extremely blown out of proportion. And that's where you kind of I think it's very important to be more less I don't know, curt in your content to try to draw people from the right, because I think now is a time we can actually shift a lot of people over. Even Trump only got, even at CPAC, only 55% of people wanted him to run in 2024, even at CPAC, which you would think would be higher. It's still a lot, but I think there's an opening, because I think even they're getting sick of the constant conspiracies and culture war stuff.
Yeah.
If they see a different avenue.
Mm-hmm.
And Matt, I don't think you're. Correct me if I'm wrong. I know Ryan isn't, but you weren't a Trump supporter, were you? I can't remember if you were or not.
No, not for the election. I mean, 2 years ago, yes, but no, not for the election.
Or you guys golfing buddies instead? Not for the.
We were chill there.
I wanted to bring an example that there is a lot of conservatives that are not Trump supporters, right? And I want to kind of just air out too. Yeah. When I go after conservatives on TikTok, I'm going after the Trumpies that throw out a lot of fascist stuff. But I also know this: I don't believe a lot of them actually believe what they say. Dawson, remember we were talking about that in Snapchat? Do you want to talk about that? We had a whole conversation in there about that.
Well, if you want to specify specifically the things that they're saying that you're saying they don't believe too, if you want to maybe say what those are.
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, what specific things that they say that you can't believe that they actually mean.
Oh, okay. So also what I'm talking about, and I do.
You're talking about creators, right?
I'm talking about creators. I'm talking about creators on the app. I'm talking about Republican Hype House, Republican Girls, Lance
John
videos.
Dawson.
Yeah. Lance videos. What was Nick videos was a thing, but we all remember him. No. Yeah. So I'm talking about those types of creators that have massive followings. And you're I know you don't believe that. I know that I know that you're smart enough to Google for 5 minutes and look that up and be that's just objectively false, what you just said. Honestly, Ryan, if I had to look at it, when I'm trying to think because I don't watch their content a whole lot. I really don't. But Lance videos came out and was leftists celebrating. I made a video on it. That's how I know. Leftists celebrating the kids in cages now that Biden's president. Objectively false. If you think leftists think that's cool, you're way out. You don't know.
I think that airs to the issue of the generalization of generalizing leftists and liberals together. Because I think, as you even stated, liberals are doing it. They're oh yeah, I'm a leftist, and it's people can't tell them apart anymore. So it's just just grouping them all together. And
which is why we started using things. And I know it's cringe for some people, but not me as a history major. But I know when people see the hammer and sickle and stuff in our bios and stuff, that we're trying to show that no, liberals have a problem with that. We're setting ourselves apart. We're trying to show that we are much further left than they are. And what's cool about moving that far left is you don't get hung up on stupid buzzwords. you don't get hung up on the social justice stuff because you're like, does this have to do with class struggle? Does this have to do with oppressed peoples around the world? Because that's what we care about. That's first and foremost. But yeah, Dawson, do you want to elaborate on our conversation about like people not meaning it and seeing how they get clout or whatever?
Yeah, I think first I just kind of want to go back and say that I do think, trans activism is something that is important. Not necessarily to center, everything around and make the most important issue. But, well, one, I think a lot of it gets potentiated by the conservative response to these things. Like, I remember one of my family friends was like talking with my dad. I was at their house and said something about this trans dude who was being forced to wrestle against women in Texas. But he got the story mixed around. He thought it was a trans woman. And I was like, no, like you just don't know that story. And, that potentiates people or potentiates the narrative and scares people and makes the left have to have a farther reaction rather than just, view trans people as people, which should be the baseline. But yeah, otherwise I do think that people just generally, especially these, because right, we talked about this a little bit earlier in the panel here. Once people have their platform, they cater to that really, really hard because they do not want to piss them off. That's what happened with Nick Videos when he backed off of Trump. And then when he went to being a paleocon, and then when he backed up a little bit again, like he lost a ton of followers from that. And I think conservatives learned from that. And now they know that once they have their platform, and generally, I think it's safe to say these creators are a little bit smarter than their platform. And I think that's the way it is. Especially because there's a lot of young people on TikTok. But people cater to that for views and to maintain their audience.
Being a right-wing grifter is extremely profitable. You look at people like Tim Pool, Steven Crowder. Tim Pool is just objectively stupid, and he is the biggest, pretty much the biggest media YouTuber on a view basis. He gets like 120 million views a month. Which is ridiculous. He's got a skate park in his house, in his compound. And then you just take a guy like Topher Town Music here. A year ago, didn't have a pot to piss in. He makes a few thousand videos about how Trump's the best and voter fraud in every state. He's in the Washington Post and has two number one hit songs that are objectively bad.
Yeah,
just they're not good. You know what I mean?
Ryan's just offended.
Like this guy is killing it, and he is just a garbage at political takes. And it's like, how can you look at that and not be like, maybe I should do that? So I'm sure he doesn't believe half of that shit. But fuck, he's probably on a private jet right now or something. Who knows?
This would be a great segue to move into our next topic. How long do you run till Driven?
We can go till the break of dawn, man. I ain't got nothing to do.
Maybe 30 more minutes. I really got to go to the bathroom at some point. Matt, what did you want to say?
I mean, we can hold it without you, sir. If you know.
I like that professionalism driven. Anyway, Matt, go for it. I'm sorry.
I do want to say really quick. I was talking with my friend about those like conservative rap songs, and I don't know who, if any of you guys are Christian, but like those type of rap songs always remind me of like Christian rap. Like
Great evangelical Christian, man.
Right. And then also, I did want to say, I don't know. I don't want to speak for Dan, but I do want to say maybe this is what he was saying, and this was what I would agree with, is that like, I don't know if he was trying to say that trans activism isn't like important right now, generally speaking, but what I would say, at least, I don't know if he would agree, is that like, I just don't think that I think that there's many like working class conservatives specifically that just like, they don't care like one way or the other. Like they're okay with like, just, that. And so like the media talking about stuff like that and like making it like really controversial all the time, it's just like, to them, it's like, it's whatever, I think that's what he was getting at. Maybe. I don't know.
I think he was talking about how the right is pushing the trans women are ruining sports story. And I can tell you, like, from my personal experience, especially with a lot of like older boomers, like on Facebook, like that is a huge, like, they love this story. Like they are just eating this shit up. And that's the kind of stuff they eat up. Because it's very low hanging fruit. It's very like, oh, well, men shouldn't be wrestling women or whatever. You know what I mean? And that's, but it's not it's not nearly as big of a deal as they make it, is what I think is what he meant.
Yeah, that's why I just meant, like, that's why I wanted to, like, differentiate, like, working class specifically. That to them, I don't, like, obvious, grandmas on Facebook are always gonna find something to, but working class people,
Well, I'm from Florida originally, so take that what you will.
We got a Florida man in the group.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I agree with Ryan on that. I just wanted to kind of clarify and rephrase to make it explicitly clear what we're trying to get at here.
Yeah, and
sorry, Ryan, go.
Oh, I was just gonna, like, I do think it was like that particular issue is blown way out of proportion. I think the way, like, the Olympics is handling it is pretty sound, with, like, judging off of, like, hormone levels and such as that. But I do also empathize because, and maybe that this is very, like, small, like, limited experience, but, like, there was that one, I don't know, the one girl who had a lawsuit going against her school district because she lost out on a scholarship because the two top athletes in her division were trans. And I don't know. I honestly don't know how exactly it, because you don't want to exclude trans people, and obviously they're already, like, a group that's extremely marginalized. But at the same time, you don't want to do that at the expense of young girls who are trying to make get a scholarship for college and stuff with that. So I don't know how to know, but that's like it's a low hanging, like, fruit to, like, just blast it up as, like, this is what the left wants. They want your daughters to never go to college.
Right. Oh, they're ruining women's sports, and that's what conservatives are great at. They take, like, a very, like, like a small scale nuanced topic that requires a lot of, like, research and debate and discussion on, like, how sports leagues would handle something like that, and they take something like that and they just broad brush. They're destroying the WNBA.
Let me and Dawson introduce you guys to a little bit of leftist theory right quick. There's a reason for that, and we have an analysis for that. And the reason why is because the two opposing forces are revolutionaries and reactionaries. But it takes much, much, much less effort to be a reactionary. You don't have to work at that. When you said, I think Driven said it earlier, you mentioned the Republican Party doesn't really have a platform. That's because it's the reactionary party. And that's objectively true. The idea of a revolutionary is, I want to change things. And the idea of a reactionary is like, no. In fact, I'm going to base my entire platform on just anti-you. That's what a reactionary is. And unfortunately, that's the content we see on TikTok, right? Is reactionary stuff that is very easy to market. And people love that shit. They really do. And it's like, oh yeah, I agree with that take. And it's sad because, like, I feel like all of us here, whenever we do try to jump into a breakdown, like, people don't really want to listen to that because they want the hot take, unfortunately. And I encourage all of us to continue to not do that because, like, there has to be that voice out there. And I'm sure, other people you guys have gotten DMs and stuff, but I've definitely gotten DMs from people being like, hey, you've helped me out a lot. I didn't know that about somebody, about this. I didn't know that about this ideology, or do you have book recommendations? And I even made a video. I had a neocon, like a neoconservative dude, say, like, I'm extremely conservative, but do you have book recommendations? And I made a video for him. And then he messaged me. He's like, I read through the first two. And yeah, wow. And I was like, that's really what it's about. I'm not going to bash you for that. Like, I just want to introduce you to how we're trying to make the world a better place, which kind of moves into the third topic. Like, why are we here? What is the point? Are we here to gain followers? Or are we here to make the world a better place? Ryan, I've talked to you about it in DMs. Remember when you made a TikTok, Ryan? I can't remember what it was, but you were talking about how you were thinking about a certain day, and you every couple months you think back to that day, and you're like, man, why'd I do that? And before I pass it off to you, I'm the same way. I look back on younger me, and I'm like, man, that was such a douchebag move. I hope that person's okay. Like, I really do think about those things, because now I'm such an activist for, like, I'm trying to make the world a better place. And I hope people understand that about leftism. I really hope they do. Guys like me and Dawson, the people in our group chat, all those creators, Tory Noodles, Comrade Kitty, Eddie Liger Smith, the list goes on, Southern Socialists, Hoff to Chain, all these people, we all are trying to improve society. That's really what we want. We really have empathy. Like, I hope people can listen to us and hear that it's not about us being right. Maybe it is for some kids, but the people that I know on that app, we're really trying to move the world a little bit. But Dan, if you want to talk about that TikTok, that one moved me. So
Yeah. So I mean, I don't necessarily have a lot to say about the TikTok specifically, just beyond that, like, yeah, I mean, I did a lot of stupid stuff when I was younger, and I think it's like important to like learn from your mistakes, as we were talking about before. And oh wait, I was just about to say something, and I just ended up distracting myself.
Dude, I've done that like 3 times since we've been here.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe someone else. I don't remember what I was going to say.
well, we could talk about like why we're here.
Okay.
I think it's really important. You remember? All right, go ahead.
Yeah. I think it's important, especially when talking about like this polarization that's happened between like in our politics, is that like it's really easy to like look at someone as just the ideology that they believe in, rather than viewing them as like a person. And I made that mistake with my dude. I honestly didn't like him at all when I first had an interaction with him. And when I started, like, I decided one day, I was like, I'm going to learn who he is as a person. And I kind of like trying to like dug into his page. And honestly, I still disagree with a lot of his takes and some of the way he presents a lot of his takes. But I've learned, I view him as a person rather than the ideology and the way he presents his arguments. And that's, I think, really important to access, is like, what is this person's actually true intentions? Do you feel like if they actually, even if you completely disagree with the way they're going about it, do you believe that they're actually trying to make things better? Like, and then examining their ideology after that is like, hey, are you trying to do something? You're being genuine? Okay, then let's have a conversation, rather than just like, and maybe the argument can be made that Ben is not one of those people, and that's why maybe just, don't interact with him. But
well, I just want to say I know Tommy really well, and Tommy is one of, again, he's even told me and a few, and John Scott and even Driven here. Tommy he's even said before, he's like, I'm a screwball in real life. Like, I'm not like that. And he's like, but if I ever do that, he has 2 accounts, by the way. There's another account that's like the real him. And he's like, but the first account, the _dude one, you see that. And he's like, I kind of have to be this way because the other stuff doesn't go anywhere. So like, it's kind of what you're talking about, the persona, but also Tommy's just like a sweetheart deep down.
I've grown to like have a respect for Tommy. Absolutely. After I had to like get past my own deal of having an argument with him and just like truly try to find out who he is as a person. And like, I'm like, oh, I can see like him with his son, and like the struggles he's having with that is like really brought light to who he is as a person. And,
well, also both of you guys before, and I thought it was funny telling Ryan this, back when I was a baby, little baby TikToker with only like 7,000 followers, I was friends with Driven already. And I moderated, the chat debate during yours, and
that's right, yeah.
And then Matt, and I think Matt came in with one. Who was it with? I was in that one too.
Well, me and Matt have already.
That was Carl. That was Carl, wasn't it?
Carl. Oh my God, that guy. Yeah, cringe. Oh yeah. But anyways, yeah. What do you guys got to say about, like, why are you guys here on TikTok? Like, what's the point? You know?
Well, I think just as far as like the us coming together issue, I think it's just important for us to like, I just hate how the internet is just so like, especially TikTok, it completely lacks any nuance, and everybody is just grouped as whatever their take is. And, that leads to people, just getting shit on by the other side without even really considering who they are or why they feel this way. And I really like, as much as I look into, the right and do content on the right, I really think, and I know like most of the people I know in my life personally are on the right. And I know like they're good people, like they just have some extremely bad takes because of the media they consume.
I just want to say really quick, I have to interrupt you really quick. Tommy sent me a video of his son. He's adorable. Like just now. I got a text. It's a video of his.
That's crazy. That's weird.
It's weird we're talking about. Well, I think
yeah, that's kind of.
I think Tommy's watching right now, but he just sent me a video of his son, and I think that's really cool. So, yeah.
But I just think in order to like bridge the gap and break the divide, like we have to focus on like the media people consume and call out like the institute, and that's the left and the right, because people like the Washington Post and CNN, like they're shit too in a lot of ways, and their biggest source of income is attacking the other side. Like our big beef isn't with Syria or Iran or Afghanistan right now. We don't have an Osama bin Laden. Right now, the boogeyman is the right. And everything, the Sean Hannitys, the Tucker Carlson, like that's what they focus on instead of like bringing people news. And the right does it the same way. They bash the left institutions, but I think it has more punch when it comes from somebody else, and you really like break down and explain why this is a bad take. And I think like calling that out is really important.
Yeah, I think,
and that's kind of why I make content, is just to like call out like shit institutions and make people realize that not everything that one or the other side says is right.
Yeah, and I'll get into why I think I'm on TikTok, but regarding in particular people, now I'm forgetting my train of thought. I'll get there eventually.
I'm gonna have to be right back. I have to go to the bathroom really bad, so I'm gonna be right back. Sorry to
go.
But like you said, Driven, the conservative people in your life, you know they're not bad people, but it's because of the media they consume. The left has an answer to that. I don't think, unless everyone is able to acknowledge that media influences you, but in being materialist, the left really emphasizes that, and that people's decisions are not, and their mindsets are really shaped by the way the things around them. Liberals don't generally believe that. That's why it's so easy for liberals to point fingers and say anybody who believes this is evil, rather than consider the propaganda that people have been fed throughout their entire lives and what would make them believe that. That's why, like, when I made my video about oil and how it's going to scare people to say you want to ban fracking, because oil's been the only thing to bring money to Western North Dakota in decades.
Right.
And was mad at me because they don't understand where I'm trying to come from, even though I'm anti-fracking in the long run.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, that's
go ahead.
That's just such a hard place to be with the fracking thing, because it's like, yeah, I support the working class, but I also understand ecology, and I also understand that like we have to do something. But that one is rough for me. That's why I don't speak on it a whole lot when we're talking about those kind of industries, because I'm like, I'm for the working class. I'm not for who owns them though. Like, and that's the only way I can sum it up. But here's the problem with that is the working class doesn't understand that, and they shouldn't really. Like, that's their livelihood. And I'm going to tell them that what they're doing is like, no, it's good that you lose your job. That's hard. I can't do that,
Right.
So that's all I'm trying to say is like, I have no place to do that. So what can I speak to, right? What I can speak to is, hey, I want to unite the working class. Southern Socialist actually said this best. He goes, I don't care if you're conservative or liberal or what have you, like, ditch all that. Let's work for each other. Like that is the leftist take. And I really hope we can put that out there for people. We're not trying to be sinister. I swear to God, I'm a college kid. Like at the end of the day, studying to be a teacher. Dawson's also in college. We have no sinister plan to take over the world. I promise you.
Not what George Soros told me.
I wanted to touch on, I guess, why I'm here as well. I think so. For me, I started out like seeing people like Nick videos and Lance and like like I was a neocon at the time, but I still thought that their, you know, content was like awful. And so that's kind of why I wanted to do it, is just like entertainment value. And I think there's still an entertainment value to it. Like, you know, I think it's okay to have an entertainment value. A lot of people might disagree with that, but especially because it's fun for us, or at least it is for me.
I shit post all the time, so like
yeah, exactly.
I don't think you can make content without enjoying making it.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And then, but one of the other things, and this kind of, both of these things kind of like jump off of what Driven has said, is that, oh, hold on one second. Sorry. Is that like, it felt like a lot of people were just taking in like rough media, like just reading like whatever comes across their For You page and then like spewing it out. And it was like super annoying. And so like, trying to help people with like media and like understanding how to think about media and like actually reading articles, that was a big thing for me. And then like bridging the gap was a big thing. And like I feel like to do that, we have to understand how to like respond to people on TikTok and then lead followers to do the same. And of course, that like also jumps off of the back of like the toxicity thing, because you know how your followers react to people is going to be a big thing. And like I don't know, we have to act as like this like little leader, I guess, on the internet. It's kind of cliche or cringe, I guess, but
no, leading by example, I think is
yes.
a big thing.
I think that's one of the things we can do right? Like something that we could do. So like how we can get better with each other, and I don't mean us specifically here. I mean like if we lead by example, right? Like of who our followers are, and like who your followers are, and we're able to show that like, look, we don't hate each other. There's no reason for you to go over there and hate them. There's like, let's work on where we're coming from. You know, I was raised very far right. So I know what all the talking points are because I was raised with it. And I didn't start shifting left till I was like 15. Um, and by the time I was like 18, 19, yeah, I was fully out of it. But I think it's important to realize that if we promote the same hate that we feel from the right sometimes, then nothing happens. And it's very like, not to get too nerdy on you guys, but it's very Star Warsy. Like if the Jedi react the way the Sith do, nothing changes. It just like it would be two opposing forces for the end of eternity. You have to reach out differently. You have to if you reach out and if they reach out in anger and passion and you reach out the same way, it just blows up. You have to reach out with like empathy and compassion. That's why you know what? I'll go ahead and be candid with you guys. My last viral video was the one I made on Marcus. Way too many views for such a basic video that I did not think. I just laid out what was wrong with it and the difference between leftist and liberal, and see like this is not what we are. And I at the time I wasn't hitting the For You page, and that video got to like 300,000 views like within 6 hours. It was like too much. And then when that happened, it drained me, but it didn't drain me for the reason you think it did. It was the liberals in my comments that were agreeing with him and then telling me, if you care about those people so much, go join them. And I'm like, we've got to change something. And I took a break from posting for like 2 or 3 days because I was like, something has to change. If this is who we are, these are real people there, you know, and that's what I care about first and foremost. And that's why I'm on TikTok, and to make people laugh. If you guys see my skits, I'm trying to make people laugh a little bit.
Well, and that's the thing. Like Keith Olbermann and Michael Moore had the same kind of shit take. They're like, oh, well, Texas is getting rid of their mask mandate. Well, I guess they don't need any of the vaccine. Let's not send them any of the vaccine. Like, dude, that is a horrible shit take, and you wonder why. And I really like Michael Moore's documentaries, like the movie Sicko that happened to come out the same time that my dad got sick, is the reason that I became a lefty. Like, there's the reason I started like actually looking into politics. But you know, to have such a shit take like that is what turns people off. And I think I like one thing that we need to do is like one have compassion for other people, and then just kind of unclog politics. I think is, you know, it's like obviously a lot of us pay close attention to politics, and I think just like unfucking the mess that is politics for people is a very important thing that can lead to better discourse, because you just get so much shit thrown at you, 100 notifications a day, and you don't know. A lot of these people just throw their hands up. They don't know what to believe, so they just kind of go with the take of whatever the group they're around
Yep.
is,
Yeah.
and that's that. And if you can kind of like unfuck the complications of a Candace Owens or a Tim Pool, I think that goes a long way.
I think that can kind of be a segue into a topic, because I really would like to discuss, especially as you guys being leftists, like what exactly is your goal, and like what is like a realistic, in your mind, a realistic potential for like where we can reach in society, maybe in the short term and long term as well. Maybe wait till Jay gets back, but
well,
and I think
for me, I can like the things that I personally am hoping to reach in, like, say, the next 20 years is universal healthcare, free public college, and universal childcare. I think those three things right there are extremely crucial to having a better society. I know that there's other things I would really want, and different, like, there's a lot of debate around that, obviously, but I think that right there would be a great achievement.
Going off that, some things that I can agree with there. I at least would see how the utility and a public option for healthcare. I live
Also,
in
campaign finance reform. I forgot that one.
yeah. Oh,
Major
100%.
campaign finance.
That's something we can all agree. Just get all of that money out of politics. I've got a friend who's I've been friends with him a long time. He's a very conservative person, but he's also a lobbyist, and it just like his job makes me nauseous. I like hate it.
Ew, that's disgusting.
It is like it's really gross. It's really gross, and he tells me about his job, and I'm just like, that is the worst thing ever. I hate it. I hate it so much. But going back to,
if you want to, are you answering first? You're bouncing off Driven first, and then
yeah. I'm so in terms of like, I see the utility in a public option. I like live in California. The cost of living is very high, and when I first moved out here, I didn't have money for health insurance, and I ended up finding out that Medi-Cal exists, and like me and a bunch of my friends were getting healthcare for like $1, which was great. And honestly, though, like I love that I had that as an option, but it was shit. It was shit care, but it was better than nothing, obviously. So I think I absolutely see how like that would be great for people who don't have any better option, but I still think it's important to leave an option if you so choose to want to spend money to have better care. I don't see a problem with that, because believe me, some of the doctor's offices I was going to, like, I can't complain. Beggars can't be choosers, I guess, in this instance, but it was like not very good hospitals. I'll just say that. So, like, I see the utility in that, and also, like, I'm someone who maybe conditionally, but I believe in like something like a UBI that can be helpful long term, in especially with the automation of many industries, but also maybe, and this is something I was actually thinking about the other day, like, because I still obviously believe, as someone in certain private markets or sectors are in I believe to be important, and a UBI that maybe centers around supporting American-owned businesses, like you can spend it on your rent, your food, and any business that has over a certain percentage of their employees that are supporting American business, essentially. So, like, and then just removing all tariffs. Like, I think that would be extremely helpful, as just like we're going to support, like, use government funds to support American businesses, but you can spend your money as you choose. So, like,
Brian, give me a year with you, and you'd be a socialist.
well, see, the thing is that the way, like, I grew up in a very conservative family. Yeah. And in 2016, I voted for Bernie Sanders. So I went to a very liberal college, and then I like swung way left in like 2016. And then what happened in 2016 disgusted me so much that I ended up coming more back into like a middle range, where I'm just like, I see the drastic issues in both sides, and the two-party system is my main enemy. I think it's an illusion of choice, and that's what I think most of our issues stem from, is having just these two shitty choices, and then we're arguing about which shitty choice is the better choice. And it's like, well, we could have a not shitty choice. Maybe that is a good idea.
Yeah,
we need that's why we need the serious campaign finance reform. Also, Wall Street reform. Although I don't think that's ever going to happen. But
well, yeah, we're gonna get comrade pilled, baby. Let's go. No, anyway,
And furthermore, with what Ryan was saying, I think there is a very staunch difference, and this is a very philosophical kind of concept that I've thought about, between reasonable policy that is generally centrist, like for example a public option that is done well and agreed upon by both sides of American politics. This is outside of like my ideological realm, but pragmatically, what can we get done versus, for example, like Obamacare, which was watered down so bad that it didn't do a whole lot other than
it was Romney care. Yeah,
Romney care,
that very, very basic amount of insurance for people that otherwise would have none. Those kind of policies turn people off to more aggressive spending, because if you've been told this whole time that you're going to get better health insurance, then you're just above the actual bracket, the actual tax bracket that came out when Obama was in his campaign, and now you don't have health care. Like, that's going to piss you off and make you think the government can't do anything, when in reality it's just that our legislature is meant to do those things. That's part of the problem.
The underwhelming policy efforts of the Democrats is the reason we got Trump. Like, the underwhelming Obama administration is why we are where we're at, and it's going to be even worse in 2024 if Biden doesn't step up his game, because like this underwhelming bowing down to President Joe Manchin is gonna really complicate things. And that's like my main goal over the next few years, is to not have Trump 2.0, but like a smarter version of Trump who like maybe doesn't tweet all day and like might actually get something done, but is like actually a Nazi or something,
Well, so something that leftists have talked about quite a bit is, let me share this link real quick. I'm actually sharing your stream with someone in our group chat, because they were like, I didn't know that there was a thing. So let me just do that real
There's
quick.
a thing. There's definitely a thing.
Yeah, copy link, and then go here, and then send that, and paste. All right, Anna's got it. Anyway, so...
Oh no! All right, so goodbye.
And he's gone. Oh, the other
That's
one's
all
gone too. And he's back. They're back. What the fuck?
I didn't turn off my video.
You commies got bad internet or what?
No, I'm good.
Yeah, I was here the whole time.
That was
fine.
Dude, that was like perfect timing.
No, I'm good. Anyway,
All
yeah,
right,
I can't see.
go ahead.
The layout's weird. I don't know if it's cool for everybody else, but I can see my eyes in the corner. Anyway, so
I don't know, man.
Yeah, maybe it's just my computer. Anyway, the leftist take is that we've always felt very concerned with liberals thinking that, oh, Biden's going to fix it. I don't believe he is. I think Biden's accelerating it. And anybody who studies fascism and leftists, we try to do our best, knows that like even fascist Germany wasn't an overnight thing. In fact, they attempted in the 1920s, didn't get it, and then they literally got crushed. But they didn't improve the material conditions of Germany. So over time, then Hitler comes back and is like, you know what? I'm better and stronger now. And I'm not saying Trump's going to do that. I'm saying the ideology will, because fascism grows out of nothing changing. Like
Right.
it speaks to the anger of the working class, right? And it's misplaced. And that's where those leaders are able to take it, because they look at, I know what hurts the people. I'm going to speak to that, but I'm also going to blame it on the other, which is a big part of Umberto Eco's essay on fascism. Fear of the other, fear of people different than you, and you find that enemy and you target that enemy, and so many people will bite on that because we like our teams. At the end of the day, we like being on teams, and that's a big concern of ours. I feel like Biden is accelerating things. I don't think he's helping. I feel like Biden is being mediocre enough to make people angry and not vote and not participate. And the fascist ideology, like Matt Gaetz, are you kidding me? What is that? Like some of the stuff he said, I'm like, you're like speaking like Mussolini. Like, have you read his transcript? Like, because you sound like him. So yeah, sorry, I'm ranting for too long, but
I think Biden's not going to do the job that we want to. But honestly, all he has to do now that the COVID's getting passed, even though it's not as good, if he passes like an infrastructure package or something before the midterms, that'll be enough to win. I think, as long as he, because Biden's like hard to hate. Like, like they have a hard time like demonizing him like they do Nancy Pelosi or AOC.
yeah.
And it's because he's not like an ideologue. He's just kind of like Scranton Joe, no malarkey. He's for the normal average person. Like they don't really, you can't hate the guy, but he doesn't have to do much. But the thing is that we have to focus on like state races and especially Congress and the Senate to get more like a bigger punch from like the progressive wing as far as like, if you're looking at this from the left spectrum, because the only thing that's going to unite the right is like this culture war shit and then like immigration. That's about the only thing they agree on, because you have like the like the highbrow stop the steal left or right, and then you have like the crazy QAnon right, and then you have like the never Trumpers, but that's like a small section, really.
I think you might a little bit be discounting a large portion of the conservative crowd that can very much relate to the focus on the working class, and I think that is where the dynamic between the working class and these billionaire elites who are controlling everything. I think that is absolutely the issue that is going to, if anything, is going to be the uniting factor here. Because my dad is a very conservative person. I usually like to bounce my ideas off of him, and like some of these things, like the UBI was like suggesting potentially being tied with like American businesses, like that's something. He's a very conservative person. He was like, yeah, actually, I see that there, and I like the importance of, because I know there's a study that came out recently that this is something that really opened my mind, which was that children as young as 5 years old who've experienced extreme poverty already have different developmental stages in their brain, and it was eye-opening to me, because being in extreme poverty as early as 5 years old, we can see developmental differences. It's like how like that person is going to be affected by that for the rest of their life. So trying to mitigate the amount of people that are living in extreme poverty needs to be a focus, and strengthening the middle and working class, I think, is a uniting thing that everyone can get behind.
Well, I have no doubt about that, but it's that person doesn't exist in GOP politics right now. It's
Right.
Yeah,
like,
no, true.
you know what I
And they're
mean?
gonna they by default, like my parents, not like they disagree with a whole bunch of stuff that Trump says, but they just voted for him twice because they're like, he's the Republican, and that's another going back to my issue of the two-party system. It's like, well, if they had a better option, because like honestly, my parents would never in a million years ever consider voting for Joe Biden. But if there was someone else that didn't have to have these party affiliations, that was like, hey, I can appeal to both sides by focusing on the working class, I think that would be great. And that's again why I'm always targeting the two-party system as a big issue with it, because people just vote for that because it's the shittiest option they feel is appropriate.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, they trust the name, right? It's like a brand name is a way to look at it. Think of it
He's
like
got the R next to him. Okay, I'll vote for him. And it's like,
you know what? I got a good analogy for this. I like Kroger brand macaroni and cheese better than I do Kraft macaroni and cheese. But
You monster.
Yeah, but people buy Kraft more, right?
because it's Kraft. It's Kraft. That Kraft cheese.
It's Kraft cheese, so you're going to buy Kraft. But I'm like, but the Kroger one has so many more flavors and is actually way better. And like nobody cares, That's the
Kroger's pretty clutch in a lot of ways. Kroger's
yeah, but I'm using that as a metaphor to like show the difference of like it's the same thing. People do the same thing with their politics, man. And to answer Ryan's question, I can hear you while I was in the other room. Do I think the left is realistic, like leftists are realistic. That's kind of your question, right?
Well, like
No, what
I was like,
what you wanted, I think. Yeah.
what you think is like a realistic potential, maybe in the short term and long term. Like even if you're going out like 50 to 80 years, like what is your long term goals for like what is reachable?
Okay, so that's a two-part question, and
Yeah.
I'll keep it brief. Yeah, of course, and I think Dawson would agree, and any leftist would agree. Yeah, we want good policies put in there. We're focusing on things like no, there should be no cages at the border, things like that. Yes, you need to raise the minimum wage, but it needs like even $15 isn't enough. Like these are like gimmies, I guess you could say, and I'll let Dawson speak his side too. But for me, those are gimmies. Like you need to do that. Accounting for production and inflation, we should be getting paid $20 to $23 an hour because everything else has gone over, like increased by like 300%. So don't sell me the like, well, when I was in college, it was $6 an hour and I paid for it. It's like, yeah, cool. Everything's gone up by an incredible amount since then. Anyway, so that's my short term. Yes, I think like there's those things that should be gimmies. And the Democrats are blowing it bad right now. And also, to answer a question about like 50 to 80 years from now, and maybe this is my Leninist view, but also some CIA people have said this before too. They've asked them, "What do you think is the next global conflict going to be? And do you think it's going to be like a World War III?" And a lot of very educated people go, "No, it's going to be a class war. Like 50 to 80 years from now, that's what you're looking at." Because
we're heading in that direction.
We already are. You're already seeing it now. You're seeing it's a lot of stats. It fluctuates, but 50 to 51% of people 18 to 29 years old are preferring socialism to capitalism, and that is because they are understanding their material conditions are not cutting it. Millennials only own 4.7% of the wealth for the first time ever in history. These are all firsts in America. Make it.
Mm-hmm.
Did I cut out?
Yeah, for a second.
Yeah, we got what you said though. Yeah.
No, but what I mean to say is like people don't like. That's what I'm about. You guys, the question before talking about why am I here? Because I recognize what's happening. People are living paycheck to paycheck and barely making it, and then still like thinking that's okay. And no, like you could live so much better. We could live so much better. We really could if we targeted the right things like that. And it's frustrating. Like you guys are talking about taking lobbying out of politics. Yeah, absolutely. You take out the billionaire class or the trillionaire class, whatever you want to call them, and what they're doing.
Repeal Citizens United is definitely high on the list.
Citizens United is the worst.
I'm also a Leninist, an unabashed. Like I swear to God, if every conservative read this book straight from Lenin himself, like what the kind of conservatives we're talking about, they would be a socialist. This book targets everything we're talking about. He wrote about this. He's like, if you keep having billionaires, you're millionaires back then, you're going to have a problem. You know, it's yeah, same thing.
Well, I think the right is actually like the problem on the right now is the populism. There's a streak of populism on the right. The problem is that the overwhelming majority of it is the QAnon crowd. So it's like we almost agree on every issue. It's just they come up at the end with giant cabal of lizard people, and we're like healthcare.
No, I have a question.
Like, I'm not saying that like all conservatives are like that, but like the QAnon crowd, which is a big 30-some million, I think is what the estimate is. That's a big section of people, and they are populist. Like they are for the people. And they there's like a belief system called like Nursera or something. It has to do it. I'm like. It's basically like a tax scheme kind of thing, but they are populist. And it's like, if you could, and that's like, if you like switch a few things around, like on the switchboard there, like they are lefties. It's just.
Yeah. Well, the other thing is too, talking about QAnon. Oh yeah. I don't know. Cause I mean, I do remember, I'm old enough to remember, but I don't feel like this existed with Mitt Romney. Like this weird, like populist version of republicanism. Like I remember Mitt Romney was just kind of like this nice Mormon guy. I don't know.
Well, they hate like the people on the right, like they don't like the billionaire class either, like to an extent. Like there is still like that upper tier conservative that's like, free market all the way, and they're the Mitt Romney types. But that segment of the party is dying every day. They just have to be like, the populism streak has to be turned in a different direction, I think, for the country to succeed. Yeah, because Mitt Romney, he was the darling of the party, 2012, making 300 million a year or whatever, just off his off the stock market.
Mitt Romney was the first person I ever voted for. And it was about 90%. Honestly, I didn't know anything about politics at the time, and I just voted for him because my dad did. And that's another reason why I think it's absurd for 16-year-olds to be able to vote, because all they're going to do is just vote for who their parents are, like exclusively almost. And it's like,
I think it's good at 18. I'm fine with 18.
I don't have a problem with 18, but that's what I'm saying. Like there is an argument to me that it could be like 21. Like there's a bunch of other stuff. I don't necessarily think it should be. I think if you're considered an adult, you should be able to vote. But to 16, I'm just like, you're so impressionable at 16.
I don't want 16.
Yeah, not only that, but like a lot of 16-year-olds probably will not go out and vote. Honestly, I mean, like the younger crowds right now that are able to vote, they still don't go out and vote in mass. It's like a huge problem, and I wish they would, but like I don't even know if even if you could get 16-year-olds to care, I don't know if they would be informed on what they were talking about. I don't know if they would go out and vote.
Well, in some states, you have to have in order to vote, you have to have your car registered. I think it's in New Hampshire or something. That's a thing. It's
you have to have a car.
Yeah, you have to have your car registered.
Crazy.
If you don't have a car, what it was?
It was something in the new. I don't know if there's a way around it, but I know that's a thing.
Okay, what sounds familiar to me is that if you have a car, it can't be registered in another state. So you can't be a student living in Vermont, or if you were a student from Vermont somewhere else, you couldn't buy a car there and register it there and then go back to vote. That makes sense.
It's just wherever your residence is. To vote here, I just had to change my address. That's all I had to do.
Yeah, the car trumps your residence, I think is.
Oh, so yeah, not Michigan. It's just your residence. Yeah, that's another thing too. That's such a weird thing on TikTok is people are so afraid of being doxxed. Hey guys, I go to school in Ann Arbor, Michigan. I'm not hard to find. If anybody wants to find me, my content has a bunch of Michigan stuff in it. I mean, I'm obviously here. So
yeah, UMich also has 40,000 students, so I think you're in the clear.
Yeah, I literally have had commenters be like, I'll come find you, bro. And I'll be like, I live in Ann Arbor, Michigan. You can totally come here at any time. They're like, wow, you just put your city out there like that? I'm like, yes. Go through my content. There's a lot of Michigan memorabilia. It's pretty easy to tell.
Yeah.
At my old address, I maybe shouldn't have done that. And now I've moved, so maybe someone else is dealing with that shit. But I gave out my address. I was like, this is where I live. Feel free. Because I'm like, well, especially at my old address, I lived in a very gang-infested area. So I'm like, you have just as risk of getting injured just coming to my neighborhood as you do of getting anything against me. So that was funny, but
yeah, I want to backpedal and answer Ryan's original question because I'm probably going to leave here pretty soon.
Me too. Soon too.
But in terms of what we want looking for, exactly what Josiah said, social democratic parties, our policies, like Medicare for all, universal child care, are really, really important, and we need that to move forward as a society. But because both me and Josiah are scientific socialists, we can't predict what the next society will look like or when that will come. We can theorize, but when it will happen, we don't know what it will look like because each society will morph into the next, just like feudalism turned into mercantilism and so on and so forth. We don't know yet. It's part of the problem.
So far, Marx has been right, though. Just want to throw that out there. Marx has been correct of how this goes, right? From feudalism to a kind of weird mercantilism to capitalism to late stage capitalism towards a push towards socialism. He's been correct about that because it is we're in late stage capitalism right now. And it's encroaching on this weird, you're at a fork in the road now, buddy. What do you do? It really is.
There's a movie about Marx on Amazon Prime.
The reason why I brought up that question is because I think that I think a lot of the issue is, and this is like something that like I think like Jordan Peterson is guilty of. So he takes this idea of like, oh, this classless, moneyless society that if that even was possible of happening, like obviously that's like way down the line of even like being possible, right? And he like takes this and then he uses that as as like, because I don't think a lot of people fully understand like how to even like the potential of getting there. It just seems so outlandish to people to like not have money, not have private ownership, and that is being like inflated in like, because I think a lot of people can agree on like a middle ground to or like a stepping stone from where we're at now, because like people are like, oh, socialism's so bad, but we already have some socialistic things like the fire department. We all agree that that's a good thing, right? So it's really convincing people that like I personally I believe in the free market. I think there are certain socialistic ideals that can be brought in to correct things in the free market. That is my stance. Like a UBI is one of those things. Having healthcare. So when people have the opportunity when people have the opportunity to negotiate their own salary and they're not negotiating that off their own survival, but rather they have what the means to survive, and then they can now negotiate a fair wage off of that, knowing that, hey, if I don't take this job, I'm going to be able to eat still. I think that's one of the biggest issues in saying the taking advantage of labor is because these people are negotiating for their wage off of their need to survive. And it's like, hey, go ahead, don't take this minimum wage job. Try to feed yourself.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's a good spot for us to push for. And keep in mind, I think the amount of 15-year-old socialists on TikTok who act like they're an authority on socialism is absurd. Especially, but
oh God,
but like I don't think there are very many people that are well read who genuinely believe that one day we're just going to be like, okay, we're done with money now. Like,
right.
It
was fun, right? We had a good thing with money. It's gone. It's done.
That's
literally, I think that's the issue. It's like people think that is like, oh well, like they group that within just like all of socialism is like evil because that is so ridiculous. I can't wrap my head around it, and then they just think that anything associated with that when they don't understand that there's our roads are socialism, like infrastructure and the fire station and the police are all things that we've agreed are good to have, and we're all going to put money, we're all going to invest in those things together. And it's like opening people up to the idea that, hey, maybe the things that we already have, there could be maybe a couple more that we choose that are good for everybody, that we can agree that if we have that, we're all going to be better as people. And again, it's going back to like that study I'm showing, when people are having developmental differences as early as 5 years old when growing up in extreme poverty, what chance are we giving these people if they already are having developmental differences at age 5? How is that person going to, correct the issues that their parents made when they're financially illiterate? They've been affected by their poverty. I think that's also like painting that as a universal issue. I think everyone can get behind that.
Yeah. Personally, I've never been like inherently against like socialism or anything like that. Like these are just systems to like get to a better society for me. And so I think a lot of people who disagree with things like socialism or whatever, they have like a really skewed view of it. And they don't understand how like they don't see it as practical. That's why I think like people like you guys who like actually try to explain these type of things, that way people can understand them better, and like are not demonizing, because that's one of the big problems too, I think, is that lefties can often be demonized as if they're like what they believe is like evil, like actually evil. And so I like it when people actually like explain like, oh well, if there's pragmatic ways to get to a society that we want and like it's not evil and whatever. I think discourse like that's always really, really good.
One thing I found that I think is really, really stupid lately is people will compare the far left and the far right, and their comparison will be Marjorie Taylor Greene and 15-year-old girl on TikTok. It's like these two things are the same. It's like, well, one is part of the actual discourse and makes laws, and one is in her bedroom, and she's 15 and can't drive. So I don't think those are the same.
I have got to speak on that because Dawson mentioned it, and I'm like, yes, please speak more on it. And not Hoff the Chain, that our friend Hoffman is in the chat. We're not talking about you. You're 17 and you're based and you're fine.
Oh, Hoff the Chain. I like that. That's
done. It's a good friend of ours. Anyway, the only 17-year-old I think I like on the app. Anyway, no, the teenage leftists, I've had to defend this so many times because people will be like, well, look at this leftist, and they'll pull up like a TikTok from it. Like, what kind of take is this? And I'm like, a 15-year-old take. That's what that is.
Yeah.
Like, they have so much more to learn. Like, they don't know yet. They think they do, but they don't. And it's a real problem because it's like, I'm like almost 10 years older than you. Please shut up. Like, it's like, it's rough. But yeah, I think it's to close off for me here. Because I got to go here pretty soon, so I just want to leave because we could keep on.
It's time to wrap up. We've been at this a while, but yeah,
so
go ahead.
I want to just say before I go, I really appreciate you guys coming on and talking with us because this is how we can work together, right? Like, I'm not going to stop being a socialist. But I do need to understand where you guys are coming from and understand what the fears are. And like Matt talked about it. Like this fear thing, and then like Ryan's talking about it, we're all raised in these different chambers, and if I don't know where you're coming from, and if I don't know what the concerns are, then I'm speaking a foreign language to you, and that's really important. So for you guys to come on here, that's great, Matt. I need to follow you on TikTok. I'll do that, but I just think that's really.
I follow you, right? I think. I don't know.
Do you?
That's why Matt came on. He wanted to gain a follower. That was his ploy.
Hey, my followers are dry right now. Okay, I need every follower I can get. Okay,
mine too. I just feel like I feel like the only way that we'll be able to get anywhere is if we communicate like this. Not going back.
Yeah, I really like these combos.
Matt does follow me. I feel like a douche yet again. God dang it, Matt! All right, just completed that.
I don't know. I'm seeing a theme
so much for sharing the wealth. God, fucking guy.
My God, he followed me first. I don't even know it. Okay, yeah. Anyway,
#block J.
Yeah, no, that'd be okay. It's fine. Okay, but no, it's funny because like this is the kind of discourse we need to be having. Because I'm not going after this. I'm not going to make a bunch of TikToks like a certain so-and-so did saying like, by the way, this is why Ryan and Matt suck. And I'm not going to do that for a week. In fact, I'm going to be the exact opposite. Be like, hey, you know what? They were great guys. Like it was fun talking to them. I talk to Dawson all the time, so I don't need to mention him. But anyway, but yeah, I'm glad that we're able to do this. And Driven, thank you for giving us that opportunity. So
yeah,
most definitely. Yeah, no, I appreciate all you guys coming on. This is a good convo. I think this is really important because the biggest issue we have right now in the country is just the discourse between the right and the left. And basically all the stuff, most of the things that we kind of agree on that would better society, we all agree on. We just have to like get past like the stupid issues. And
Driven, my motto is still bash the fash, okay? Like that's the only people I won't work with. Fascists can get curb stomped.
Well, yeah, but not I don't want not fascists. We don't talk about those people.
I'm joking with you.
Fascists and well, I guess just fascists. I think we can work with pretty much everybody else. I don't know all the left wing. I don't know all the lingo. Okay, that all you crazy kids are talking about.
That's basically fascist.
Yeah,
I think
just bash the fash, pretty much. I think that's a slogan everyone can get behind. Besides the fash, of course.
I need merch.
I think I got.
You're a funny guy. You made a video after the Blackbend video. You made a video towards one of my mutuals, and I hope they didn't take it too hard because I thought it was kind of funny. You're like when you come back, you're like, "Are you okay, bro?" Like,
me?
That was actually one of my mutuals, but I was still laughing because I was like, I hope they didn't take it too hard because that was funny. It's I
I didn't, when I memed on him in the comments, I really wasn't trying to be mean. Like, because I thought, like, I feel like me and him would actually, like, not disagree that much. But it seemed like he just kept on doubling down. And so I kind of memed a little hard again. So.
Well, a lot of people were pretty angry for a couple or 2 or 3 days, right? And I think that's the thing, too, we need to keep in mind is let our passions go. Sometimes, guys, I see a video and I'll, like, spew out what I would emotionally want to say, and then I'll be like, not going to record that. I'm going to dial it back a little bit. And the reason why is because it's easy to react out of emotions. It takes temperance to be like, probably shouldn't say that. You know what I mean? And those couple of days were pretty heated for everybody. And I mean, for me, they were kind of fun. But yeah, it was funny. So I made some skits out of it. I was having fun. So is what it is. But if you guys want to sign off and do all your stuff, I already said my piece.
I just wanted to wrap up with something. I think something to just important to focus on is just empathy in general. And I think a lot of people, especially men, view empathy as some kind of weakness. And I think that's a big issue. And we've got sayings like facts don't care about your feelings, but it's also a fact that humans very much base the way they interpret facts off of their emotion. So taking that emotion into account is something that is important, understanding why people believe things. So just if people listening right here to just base your understanding on people and understanding why they believe what they believe instead of just judging solely off of the belief itself, I think is a good thing. And that is what I'll leave there.
All right. Anybody else? I think that we're good.
No? I just want to say, I was just going to say, I really like this. I really appreciate it. And I would be down for more of these for sure.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. No, sounds good. I would like to, because we didn't really talk about any like policy wise. And I think all 5 of us, well, I think some of you guys are pretty close on, but I think we definitely have some policy disagreements. So I think that would be interesting to,
I would absolutely love to.
You know what I mean? Because I think we all, because I'm like a soak dim, and you guys are like on the commie side, and then you guys are, I don't know, like
you're a democratic socialist.
Yeah,
I like
whatever.
You're not sock dim. You're a democratic socialist, teetering. You're right there. You're so right there. You're like right here. I swear to God, man. So also, fun note to top off on before Dawson signs off. Dude, John Scott texted me. He was like, why is Driven like using the term base so much? What does based mean? And I was like, I taught him that.
That's funny.
Drop the base.
Somebody, I put that comment on some video, and then like I don't remember what it was. I think it was I can't remember. But then like somebody, like 2 people put like 8 question marks, so they had no idea what it meant. And then one other person's like gave a breakdown of what it meant. It was pretty funny. Like, oh, thanks for explaining my lingo there, I guess.
It was funny.
Yeah, TikTok's keeping me young. I swear. It's
like, I that's what I said yesterday when I went and got a phone. I was like, basically all the new music I hear now, because all the music I listened to was like stuff I found when I was like 13. But I was like, any new song I hear now, it's just like I hear like a snippet of it on TikTok. Like, let me Google this maybe. that's where I find like any new music.
TikTok is running the music industry.
I need you to start dressing like a 17-year-old at some point. Just like incrementally, you're just starting to throw in like all of a sudden you have like the hair like mine, it's like little.
Get like a little hoodie chain.
The front mullet is what I like to describe it as. The long in the front, party in the front, but business in the back.
Yes, sir.
I'll stick to the hats and Under Armour shirts. I'm good with that. That's been my style for like 20 years. So I'll just,
as long as you throw away that Vikings hat.
No.
Slander. Slander.
I'm a Lions fan. All right. I hate both of you, and I can't do anything about it. That's what.
Jared Goff is the truth. The truth and the light.
Matt,
Jared Goff.
Who's your football team?
I'm not a sports guy. I hate to disappoint everyone here, but I just don't
How
care.
are you not-
As long as you're not a
That is
Packers fan,
lame.
we can all get along here.
Yeah, yeah. As long as you're not a Packers fan, although that would have been fitting if you would have been. Then we all could have like equally hated you.
No,
as much, you know.
if Matt was a Packers fan, I'd unfollow him right now. No,
Nice.
I can deal with Bears fans because you guys have Mitch Trubisky, and I'm like, that's funny.
Not anymore.
They
He's
might
gone.
be getting Russell Wilson.
Oh
Yeah.
man,
They're about to try to give a haul for Russell Wilson,
four first-round picks. I don't even care.
which I'm gonna be salty as fuck if they get Russell Wilson.
Dude. The Lions got we actually to top off the shift away from politics at the end. Lions got Jared Goff and 3 first-round picks coming next year, so I'm excited.
I think they won that trade actually.
We dominated. You give us Jared Goff?
I don't think it's a bad trade, like in the immediate future of the Rams and in the long-term future of the Lions. It was the right move, I think, for both of them, because the Rams are still in the contention range. So they're just trying to make a last-minute push, and then they're probably going to have to go into a rebuild after that. But like they still have like some big and Aaron Donald, like they still want to. They're still trying to stay relevant while he's still in his prime, and he's a monster. So,
I think year one they win, but over the long run, I think it's pretty even.
Good move for Lions, a bunch of first-round picks.
Awesome. I've got to take a picture of Hoffman like bullying somebody in the chat right now. This is hilarious.
I've been kind of reading the whole time. He's been saying some funny stuff.
Yeah, no, he's funny. Yeah.
No, Hoffman's the most hilarious 17-year-old kid I've ever met in my life. Like,
is that his TikTok name as well?
The Chain,
The Chain.
Yeah. And bullies me on Twitter without tagging me, and literally Hoffman sent me a tweet just the other day and said, "Whoops, I forgot to tell you about this one." And it says like, "I don't understand how Josiah isn't gay by listening to MCR. I mean, come on." And
MCR is a classic.
Yeah, who doesn't like MCR?
Oh my god, MCR. Yeah. Oh, Black Parade is one of the greatest albums of all time, and no one can convince me otherwise. I love that album.
Oh,
it's up there. Yeah, I've seen them like 3 times live. Man, they're awesome.
Yeah,
they are great. It's really bringing me back to my angsty teenage years. I love it.
I'm gonna wrap up here now.
I think
we can talk about whatever we want. I'll stick around and we can talk. I just want to finish up so I don't get cut off at some point. I'm happy to be on here, especially, it's good to talk to good faith conservatives and people on the right. It's kind of a breath of fresh air after, talking to only bad faith liberals full time.
Right.
It's a little bit relieving to remember that, for a lot of people across this country, there's one little hump they can't get over to being on the left, or like 2 or 3 things. And a lot of them are cultural things that they just can't. And, if I can help kind of clear the way so that they can develop on that way themselves, I'm happy with that. If, they don't get brought deeper and deeper into the anti-left kind of right.
Mm-hmm. Most definitely. Well, all right, but I think we'll wrap up the stream anyway, the stream part. But anybody that's still left here, if you could like the stream, I really, really appreciate it. Also, I forgot to kind of mention this, but if you everybody's links are down in the description. So if you want to follow any of these guys, all their links are down there. Thanks everybody for coming to the stream, and much appreciated. And hopefully we'll see you again soon, or at least I will. Somebody will.
Awesome, guys. Yeah, great.